Yes, hello. I am James Rowlands, and today is the WNR523. It's New Japan catch-up. Yes, finally, we are going to do this, and I'm not alone. I have a pleasure to be joined by a resident NXT expert and New Japan demigod. It is Monty. How's it going, man?
Doing good. I'm doing good. Always happy to be here doing a show. I've been we've talked about it. We've been doing a lot together recently because of just how much just seemed to keep happening in wrestling. But these shows are special to me. The fact that this even exists, in my opinion, that we're even doing New Japan shows, doing catch-ups, is special to me. You call me a demigod, you call me a deity in the past, but I definitely sometimes just feel like at this, and I think this show or will prove it in a sense. I feel like I'm passing my teachings on. You know what I mean? Like if you were in the student phase, if we go all the way back to the first Forbidden Door, and basically me just having to pretty much explain everything,
Yep.
and where we are now, yeah, man, it's a bit amazing to think about. So yeah, I'm always happy to do this.
Well, yeah, this is your fault. You've created a monster. But
Yeah,
again, it is always great to do these shows, and we have planned to do it. And again, we've got a lot to cover, and I do appreciate taking your time for these shows as well as NXT, and of course, like you say, we've still got the Clash coming up next weekend, Forbidden Door, the Money in the Bank. So at this moment, there is a lot. But I will say as well, on this show, there's a lot to cover, but don't panic, dear listener. As for this one, we'll just kind of hit the major points. My plan is to release bonus pods at some point in the future. Hopefully, if I ever get round to it, Monty, as you know, my track record's not great with these, but I plan to do Impact Year in Review 2023. Hey, boys and girls? What about the return of TNA? That would be the 2024 show. Of course, New Japan Unedited, which will be 2024. The end of Strong, again, going back to, I think, 2021 with that. And like we said, anything else. But let's begin today, and we're going to go all the way back to March 6th, when New Japan celebrated their 52nd anniversary, and the New Japan Cup kicked off with 3 tournament matches, including the New Japan debut of Jack Perry against Shooter Umino, and Jack Perry did defeat Shooter. Perry came out in all black and a funny-looking goat head, completing his kind of New Japan package. After the win, Evil offered Perry a House of Torture t-shirt. He accepted the offer, uniting with Evil, Red Narita, Dick Togo, Yushi Kanemaru, Sho, and of course, Takahashi in the process. And again, as we're going to see, not a lot happened more with Jack Perry in New Japan, but how important, Monty, is New Japan sometimes to make a wrestler cool again? And even with Jack Perry, I'm talking about AJ Styles. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And stuff like this as well. There is something that they do. People might go, oh, well, but it is a thing. And we saw it with Jack Perry this year.
100%. I feel like unless you're just a good person who just likes hating on New Japan, you have to admit, like you mentioned, they really do. They really do rebrand. I mean, we can go back. I know some people may not even know this because he's rebranded himself so well. But like Juice Robinson and like when he was like C.J. Parker way back in the day at NXT and all of that, and how he rebranded himself. Tonga Loa is a completely different guy than who he was in his first run in WWE. I know people may not remember Camacho, but you don't even know who the hell Camacho is because of what he did. He was able to establish himself in New Japan and become a completely new guy. Even if you don't like Tonga Loa, the rebrand was there. And like you said, the Bullet Club, the everything about it, everything about New Japan, they're really good at taking the talent, rebranding, and completely switching up, like you said, how someone looks, how someone feels. It's a great place to go reinvent yourself. And I think, honestly, I don't want to. I'm gonna stay into the present of where we at now because I could project, but like at the time when this happened, I was really hoping that more AEW talent or just talent in general who needed something fresh could go to Japan and just, like you said, work on something, change up, do you get creative. And I don't know if it's the freedom, the fact that you're just able to try stuff, and if it don't work, it don't work. But if you mess around and you get it over in Japan, it's a good chance that you can make it work anywhere else. So yeah, man, I'm with you. I think this was beautiful for Jack from a character, a confidence standpoint. He was on his own. He was, able to lean into whatever the scapegoat ideology that he's kind of took on himself in this character from everything that happened that we all know with Punk and Tony and all of that. So I think this is really, really good for him. And I think this is the most, if you think about since he kind of split up from Luchasaurus, if it was one thing Jack was surely lacking, we knew he could wrestle, but buying into him on promos and buying into who he was as Jungle Boy was no longer believable. He was, he was growing up, and I think growing the beard out, changing the look, and all of that really did him wonders, man.
Well, I think even the backstage, like I said, the backstage comments or the promos that he was doing is going to help to this character develop, And again, if he hit down on the head, someone like, Daniel Garcia or someone like that would be perfect in that role, because then, like I said, it's about what happens in ring, and then you can kind of work on that character as well. Elsewhere on the anniversary show, it is tradition, I'm told, that the IWGP Heavyweight Champion and the Junior Heavyweight Champion face off. Tetsuya Naito did defeat Sho with a lot of shenanigans, but a Destino to get the win. But why were people such up in arms? Because I think we're going to get on House of Torture, and if you hear me in earlier podcasts, I've started to warm to them because I'm not taking them as seriously as maybe before. So I'm kind of enjoying Sho shenanigans, where some people absolutely hate it and he's ruining tradition.
Yeah, I think the main reason, if you had any frustration with Sho here, even though I think once the shenanigans was over and Sho actually kind of showed a little bit of that potential and what he has, like I said, my only thing with Sho has always been, I know he can work his ass off and he's really good, but his character in House of Torture has made him establish more of a psycho, more of a crazy character, which is good, but at the same time, he doesn't work anymore. He don't really care to work like he used to at all. And I think that might be the big problem. But also, he robbed us of the decision making to put Sho here, which is probably, when I think about it, makes sense. What we know, but now. But at the time, the frustrating thing was that this was supposed to be El Desperado versus Naito. I think everybody wanted to see that type of match for the anniversary show, because in the past it was Okada versus Ospreay. It's usually aces, used to be Tanahashi versus Kushida.
Oh my
so
God.
That's what people became accustomed to, if you see what I'm trying to say. So you compare what we got to what people thought we potentially had going. I understood why a lot of people were kind of frustrated.
To be fair though, I mean, again,
this still ended up being good.
We're going to see Sho here. I mean, you know the history more than I do. Sho's main event is a ton of shows in this run. You know what I mean?
And this one, I say it was the Naito effect, but this is one of the first big events post Okada, and they sold this thing out. So, maybe it was because of Sho. At the end of the day, it was a lot of people there watching, so they can hate on the House of Torture. So, and that's what I've been trying to get people to understand. Even if you hate them, especially American fans, because a lot of the problems come from the foreign fan. The people in Japan love to hate the House of Torture, and that's why Sho was in a lot of main events, because people love to hate him.
It's the Conor McGregor thing, isn't it? It's if you haven't got a strong enough kind of baby face, you're missing that. Then get a heel that everybody will pay to get beaten, because everybody can in a one-on-one match, and obviously have this. But on to New Japan Cup, and again, when I do the unedited version, I watched everything. But in his 7th finals, Hiroki Goto faced Yota Tsuji for the New Japan Cup. There was a 15-minute press conference before the final, with Yota and Goto having final words. Yota said, "When the talking stops, the changing of the guard happens." And there's a really cool tablecloth as well. I mean, I don't think that gets mentioned enough. Anyway, it's time to find out the winner. And Yota Tsuji did defeat Hiroki Goto. This match was a lot of fun, especially in the closing stretch. And it was easily one of the best matches in the tournament. Afterwards, Tsuji cut a promo, declared himself the face of the new era. Naito joined him in the ring. Tsuji promised to take his belt. Naito questioned his readiness for having a friendly stare down. Once Naito left the ring, Tsuji promised to take New Japan to greater heights. Now, Monty, I don't know if we have spoken about this either on or off, but I do remember mentioning it and saying, even with Naito dragging the title, heavy is the crown, so to speak.
Right.
This is what the story is all about.
100%. I think that's basically symbolism. That's the one thing I love about New Japan, or just Japanese pro wrestlers in general, but really New Japan do it really well. It's the storytelling without necessarily needing to say anything. You don't even have to have it translated, but like you said, in the stare down, in Naito's mannerism. I know he's accused of never taking anything serious, but you're 100% right. Dragging the belt, letting you know that it's not just him being nonchalant. It is him also just showing, hey, you say you want to take this. And like I told you, Hiromu joined Lij for like a similar reason. Everybody in there pretty much except Shingo and Bushi, because Bushi loves Naito.
Yeah, but friends
pretty
like
much.
that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But everybody in there except Shingo and Bushi, who really love Naito. The other two guys, they are potential rivals. You know what I mean? They really, like Hiromu said, he'll never leave until he is able to beat and best Naito. He'll never leave Lij. He's loyal until he's able to beat him. So, like, that just shows you kind of like the thing. And I kind of always enjoyed that, because all of the other factions, they were either, very loyal to Chaos, or it's like Bullet Club, when you never know when someone's going to get turned on, or, when something's going to switch over. What I always enjoyed about Lij is that they had a loyalty to Naito, but it was also just a rivalry thing. Very anime type of relationship, because that's kind of often what you get from anime characters, where it's like, they love each other, but they're going to use each other to get better. So I kind of like that. But that's what Tsuji wanted to do. Tsuji had a rival with Naito when he was a young lion, and Naito dismissed him a long time ago, and Tsuji never forgot it. So it's always been an underlying thing ever since Tsuji joined. As great as I've been able to watch Tsuji grow and become who he is, that was the thing I was looking forward to in this match, was how much would they lean into that history, because Tsuji does have a lot to prove to Naito from Naito's point of view. And from Tsuji's point of view, he feels like he's already the leader of the new school, and he's ready to lead this company forward post-Okada. So I thought this was just excellent storytelling from both guys. And it had me very eager to see what would be the next move, because, again, American fans, a lot of people were ready to move on from Naito, and I immediately crowned one of the Four Musketeers because of the big loss that Okada was. And I'm just like, I don't think that's the move I've always been against. It's not just because of my bias. It's just I feel like Naito's name is what they need when you lose a name like Okada, and give the young guys time to build it. But hey, we'll see how this turned out. But this was beautiful, beautiful storytelling from both guys, because if you know more about their history, the fact that they were having this encounter so early into Tsuji's run, I think this is something that we will be revisiting down the line, even after this encounter.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, backstage, Goto's night didn't get any better, beaten up by Chase and Kenta. But we talk about Tsuji and, his journey in the New Japan Cup. You had Jeff Cobb against his strength, ELP versus his speed, Ren Narita with, I'm going to put technical, because Evil was hardcore, all right? And obviously, he got the kind of veteran strong style as well. All in all, Monty, the first cup win was a piece of piss for him, really.
Yeah, got a little bit of everything, And again, the New Japan Cup is all about, entering that gauntlet. It's not the marathon that the G1 is, but it's definitely about who can get hot. And I think that's kind of like what you've seen there. And I think that's what you often see from New Japan Cup winners. The reason why Zack Sabre Jr. is usually so damn dangerous in this tournament, because he can just he can rack off 5 submission victories in a row easily. So I think it was a good, like you said, test. And I think Goto is a great guy to have there. It's unfortunate that Goto is just always the guy that's like the runner-up. He's a career runner-up in these situations. He's awesome. He wins them, but he doesn't win the title. You know what I mean? He's just one of those guys. Like, and unfortunately, exactly. He's one of those guys. But even McIntyre has a couple world title reigns, so that's the problem. Like, Goto can't even get one. And I always hope for the day, like maybe just maybe they'll give him like a sympathy one. But I think Goto's probably going to retire. Yeah. Like, he's one of those guys who's probably going to retire without one, but if you go off his match quality and what he's capable of, he's a champion, man.
Well, Tsuji says the reign has stopped and the Emperor has left the Empire, and he says, join me as we start the new era. And like I said, that's what it's kind of all about. We move on to the KOPW title, March 31st. Greater Khan versus Tanga Lower. You know where I'm going with this, Monty. The unique match type featured best 2 or 3 falls and a 5-minute eating contest as the second fall. That's right, eating. The rules for the first round were that every pin attempt was worth 1 point. Lower ended up winning the round 9-8. The food eating for the second fall was originally supposed to be freshwater unagi, which is ill, which Hamasaki is famous for. However, a late decision, very, very, fans were upset by this. So gyoza dumplings, another local delicacy, replaced ill as a featured food. With 30 seconds left, Lower began to slow down, needing sips of water to continue. After 5 minutes expired, officials entered the ring to see how much ill each wrestler had consumed and awarded the fall to Khan. The third fall was a strap match. Both wrestlers appeared to be showing the effects of having eaten too much during the second fall, and it appeared either could vomit at either point, but Khan would eventually hit an eliminator and touch all 4 corners for the win. This is pro wrestling. And again, a nice send-off here, which we didn't realise at the time. But my God, people talk about New Japan, Monty. This is the shit I'm invested in.
I get a chuckle out of your reviews of it because then I just feel like, I feel so proud that you could even sit back and understand what's going on. Because so many people will see this and immediately be like, "This what the hell you got me watching?" But like this is what New Japan, like you said, this is what they do, especially KOPW. I never thought it would be a completely serious belt, especially when like Yano's the greatest KOPW champion. But at the same time, what Okan has been able to do, the different stuff, like watching him and Taiji Ishimori work out for it, is when I realized that this belt is capable of anything. So looking at the eating contest and making them do a strap match after it, it's one of those situations where it's just like, this is like you said, this is New Japan, man. This is you're not gonna get this anywhere else. Even if if you want to shit on it, that's one thing I will say about it. You won't get anything like it anywhere else. And if you really enjoy just chuckling at stuff, like I don't know exactly what Great O'Connor's future in general can attest for, but like just what the stuff he's willing to do and able to do while still maintaining that mysticism that is the Great O'Con is really hilarious to me, because he has so much monster like quality to him that is amazing to think that so far with the KLPW he's been able to do basically whatever he wants. Like you can almost a lot of time of the show for O'Con, and you just know some type of ridiculousness is coming, but it's a different type than Yano's, if you know what I mean.
The thing is that wrestling should be fun, and again, I know comedy is not for everybody, but like I said, with Great Khan, I'm sure if he went on a undefeated run, and then built up his rep that way, but again, to lean in to this is just really, really good, and again, you're right when you say you wouldn't get this anywhere else. April 3rd, we've got the Road 2 Intergalactic Jet Setters, which are Kevin Knight and Kushida, Tomohiro Ishii versus United Empire, Callum Newman, Akira and TJP versus Bullet Club, War Dogs. Ishii pinned Newman and Knight pinned Gedo. This was a gauntlet match, meaning that once one team is pinned and another would take its place. It started with IJS and Ishii taking on United Empire, but then Bullet Club replaced United Empire after Ishii pinned Newman. When the fresh team Bullet Club still lost, Kevin Knight pinned Gedo after an Elevate DDT take home the victory for the trio. And again, the reason I mention this for Monty is that it was different and fun. And like you said, what I've seen with New Japan is the fact is it might not have, top tier talent. But again, trying to get into this, we're going to see it as well with like tag team gauntlet matches and the kind of eliminators. And it is different. And again, it fills a space or a show like a Road 2 as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's not on one of their super serious, strong style, epic clash cards. It's usually on the Road 2 shows, building the hype to, since they don't really have that week-to-week Dynamite, week-to-week Monday Night Raw, promo heavy, or whatever style of storytelling. They try to tell stories in matches, and like you said, and when you're telling stories in matches, you can't just throw the guys out there and warm up matches every Road 2 show and then have the same thing happen, or a different guy go over, and then they lead us to the pay-per-view. And you have to be creative. You have to have the like you said, let the factions get involved. Creative ways to get the main people in the storyline, whether the champions or the contenders or whatever, involved with each other, while keeping it fresh enough to where when we get to those big shows, then you can have the epic, 20-minute, 15 whatever plus minute match clash that's way more serious and way more what you're used to in New Japan. And I think I'm happy that you get a chance to watch this, because I think that's one of the rated elements instead of doing the show whenever you're just jumping to big event, which is fine. I'm not saying, I understand that everyone don't have time. I think that's great, but there is quality on these Road 2 shows, especially with the backstage comments and stuff like that add a layer to the big matches that you're going to be watching on the big show.
And again, you feel intelligent, because when you're watching the backstage comments and you're reading it, you start pretending like you know Japanese. It's crazy.
Yeah, just say how that works.
The main event of the evening was a huge inter-faction battle. Now, Monty, I've got used to kind of the factions that are around New Japan, but I mean, how often do we get inter-faction warfare? Because we had Bushi, Yota Tsuji versus Takahashi and Naito, and we see Bushi pick up a huge win by pinning Takahashi. Is this, rare? And will it cause any problems, seeing as Naito did pick his favorite?
Right. With LIJ, no. This is not rare. LIJ is one of the few factions that compete against each other all the time in different ways. When this used to be, when it was singles, even when Sonata and Evil were in the faction, they were one of the few factions that did not have a problem competing against each other at all. But I will say that other factions, don't really do it the same. Bullet Club, like I say, may do it, but it's usually some type of twist to it. It's usually a tournament-based situation. So you do get it, but the multi-man type of style and splitting it up, this is unique, and I think LIJ does it more, but this is really unique because we know it's all tied to Tsuji's side versus Naito's side. So it was really, really interesting, like you mentioned, to kind of see these dynamics play out. See how the match play out. Like you mentioned, Bushi, who usually is the one who takes the fall a lot, oftentimes being able to take advantage here. And like, again, that's just awesome to see that viewpoint. And like you said, look at the backstage reactions, look at the competitiveness. But at the same time, usually LIJ don't take stuff too personal until the betrayal, the massive betrayal happens out of nowhere. And then you find out like Sonata low-key was a rival of Naito for all of those years, even though he seemed very loyal. But to be fair, Sonata was always quiet. Evil also was another guy. He didn't say much, but so I can't really, I say they don't take it personal, but maybe it does come up. Yeah, maybe it does come up. Yeah, Naito also, at this point, he's seen it all. Naito has seen it all.
He's just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Talking about backstage comments as well, the rivalry between Sho and Yo, when you hear about former tag partners and feuding, I didn't think it was going to have this much humor, especially when they're kind of hiding behind the interview area. It's just so like, I don't know if it's Monty Python or Benny Hill, but the humor in Japan really, think about it that I just appreciate. Maybe it's for it.
I agree. That that's one thing I've always loved about New Japan. They don't take themselves. They can give you both. Like I mentioned, you had an epic clash, the stuff that they usually go viral for, that people really love about them, and then you have stuff like this that doesn't take itself too seriously. Although usually when the bell rings, you're gonna get their best, either way it goes. But the thing I will tell you about this, they're former tag partners, and it is a history here, but you have to understand, Sho has completely lost his mind. And Yo, on the other hand, has also lost his mind, but they've taken two completely different approaches to losing your mind, I would like to think. Like, Yo still has a semblance of the good guy that he was back in the Rocky Romero, Roppongi 3K days. He still has a semblance of that. That's why he's still in Chaos and all that. But when Sho kind of turned on him, and then the injuries that happened to both guys, to be honest, they both kind of just took two completely different. Well, Yo has been injured more, but they both took two completely different approaches, but they've like neither one of them are still there. If you ask me, you see what I'm trying to say? Like,
yeah. I know it's yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to get to Sakura Genesis April 7th. We've got just 5 guys, which was Doki, Sanada, and Yuri Uemura defeating United Empire, Calvin Newman, Great Khan, Jeff Cobb. After the match, Khan tried to check Yuri Uemura. Yuri Uemura responded with deadbolt suplex and teasing a future title challenge. IWGP Tag Team Championships, Bullet Club, Chase Owens and Kenta defeated Bishamon. I mean,
so
great,
damn
you're
good.
new Tag Team Champions, but like, what am I missing something with Chase Owens here? Like,
No.
I just don't. What is it?
No, you're not. You're not missing it. I hate to say it, but you're not missing anything. Oh man, you're not missing a damn thing when it comes to that. Yeah, Chase Owens, in my opinion, I probably think he's better than a lot of other people seem to. But I understand that if anybody was to tell me that he just doesn't do it for them, or they just don't get it. But I will say that them beating a team like Bishamon, the only reason for it is just because we needed. I think they wanted some tension in the tag division. Like Bishamon feels miles ahead of everyone. You lose God is not getting back together when the Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa version of them. You know what I mean? They're out of the picture. They had just kind of went through a thing with ELP and Mick Hikuleo. So when you take all of that into account, I believe this was just one of those things. Okay, we're gonna shake it up and give the tag division a threat. But I'm with you. I was not on board because it's just I'd rather you play the safe route and keep the dominant team on top until we can build up somebody else than give unbelievable. Like we know Kenta, but like I said, Kenta at this stage in his career, he is a Japanese legend, but this ain't that Kenta. And the same thing goes. And then with Chase Owens is just like you said, it's hard to believe. He's not believable, unfortunately.
Yeah, my issue with Chase is I think you could just get someone better for that money you're probably paying him. But even maybe with the Bullet Club history and stuff like this.
I love the package power driver though. Love the package power driver.
But with Kenta is for me, I just pop because I know like the cameraman's going to be happy. And we're going to get that stick.
Yeah, at least he's entertaining backstage. Even if he's not kicking the shit out of anybody in his matches anymore, at least he's entertaining,
Yeah, I've changed with Kenta. Yeah, exactly. Used to like his, in-ring, and now it's outside. IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship, Sho defeated Yo. Yo took the lead, but immediately dislocated his shoulder. This match was off, leaving Sho as champ. Once the match was over, Fujita and Doki came to the ring to challenge Sho. Instead, Fujita dropped Sho and Doki left with the belt. This was a shame, Monty. We don't like to see stuff like this, And again, they were building something here, and it's just not good.
Yeah, man. And like you said, with the history that these two guys have and just everything, like you said, that it was built to, and just show and like again, somebody like me who known their history, Yo has just been the unfortunate one in terms of injuries. And just he's had, I think if I remember it right, it was an ACL or a knee situation in the past, and then now the shoulder injury, and and then having it happen that way where you can't finish the match. Like, no one ever wants to see that. And Yo is a really good wrestler, in my opinion. I think he has the potential. I'm not saying he's going to beat Sho here because we know you can't really predict anything with the House of Torture. But Yo and Sho, they had a chance to possibly build to a special feud, even going through more of it, like you mentioned, with the entertaining stuff and just their history and just so much stuff there. I know they both were bummed out about it. Too, because Sho losing his mind, they were really, really close, and Sho supported him through the first bad injury. So in this situation, watching this happen, like this sucked. This really, really sucked, man. Because Yo is one of my favorite juniors, man. I always love Yo. So it's really
and I'm only laughing because we can actually say like Sho lost his mind and actually kind of go with it because
what I mean.
He literally has, yeah. John Moxley and Shota Umino defeated House of Torture, Jack Perry and Ren Narita. Never Openweight Championship, Shingo Takagi defeated Evil. This was horrible. One of the worst title matches I have ever seen. Dick in a Bushi mask was probably one of the highlights. The only positive thing about this match is Evil is no longer the Never champion. After the match, Gabe Kidd hit the ring and had a few choice words to say. You know, promising to kill anyone in his way, swearing, telling Tanahashi to get fucked, spitting on the line mark.
Oh,
you know, the huge Monty. You know.
Look at the attitude you Brits bring to Japan, huh?
Yeah,
Very
but there
respectful.
was an argument. Like I said, should Gabe be like the kind of mouthpiece or the leader of the Bullet Club?
Yeah.
I think he showed his worth here. But again, the positive is Shingo is champion. For now, looks like we're going to get him and Gabe, and Evil can go away.
100%. You know, I love Evil. I really do. But at this point, I think he's won that belt. He won the openweight belt like 3 or 4 times at this point. Like the old Evil used to have those great strong style matches and really fit that division really well. But when he not only is he matching up with a guy like Shingo, and by the way, if you can't go out there and just do Shingo's stick and make it entertaining, it's really tough. Like it's hard for me. I always try to defend Evil, but it's really hard for me to defend stuff like this when it's against a guy like Shingo, who Shingo is right up there with, I say, Ospreay, you can wrestle a broom. Shingo in a paper bag, he would clothesline the hell out of it, and I would watch it because Shingo is just by far one of the best in the world to me. So I love Shingo's stuff. So to watch this and just have to sit, then it was like, what? Maybe this was so long because of the injury earlier, but this was 20-something. We do not need to sit through an Evil shenanigan match for 20-something minutes. So I think they were just buying time. Like they were kind of screwed. And I want to blame the injury. I don't want to say that this was just bad because again, I like both guys here, but yeah, man, this was tough. Like you said, tough to get through. And but Shingo winning was definitely the big thing. He fits this division perfectly. He's one of the most physical. He's the definition, pretty much, of strong style, in this division. And then you add a guy like Gabe, who hits as hard as he talks, and everything about him is physical. You know, the stuff with Eddie Kingston that he did earlier, last year and all that stuff really kind of set a tone for like what to this year and last year. You kind of set a tone for what to expect from a Gabe Kidd fight, and I think he fits Shingo's style and this belt perfectly.
Yeah, and I think that's the worrying thing, even for New Japan fans now, is to look at Gabe and even Maloney and think, shit, in a couple of years' time.
They're going to be getting calls, brother.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, main event, IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. Naito defeating Yota Tsuji. He did have to use Destino for the victory, which was another thing I like about New Japan.
Yeah.
Like a story into this, which is did Naito need to give his best shot? In the end, he did. And after the match, Moxley confronted Naito, and unsurprisingly, title match set up, which we're going to talk about in a bit. But Yota Tsuji came close, Monty, but no cigar.
Yeah, and I saw some people really disappointed in Tsuji, and at first I was like, again, I already stated that I wanted Naito to ride with it, but the Tsuji people who were disappointed, when you watch a match like this, you just get that you get it because the crowd loved everything Tsuji was doing. Out of everybody, I love Shota Umino, I love Narita. Uemura is kind of having to figure himself out and get it going, but I think if you want to say anybody, in my opinion, just gives off a guy who's going to be on top, maybe in a Naito position or possibly a Tanahashi position in the future, you can see that Tsuji has something. He's working with it. The presence, the timing in the ring. He has it, man. And I think this match was a great example when he's in the ring with somebody who can go as hard as Naito can go. And again, this was it was lengthy. You can make the case that maybe it kind of was maybe it bloated, but this is a New Japan main event. It's kind of what you expect. I love the crowd really being into it and really giving the people both guys everything you want. And I think that's what I love the most about not only just Naito matches, but even seeing Tsuji in this spot. a lot of his big matches so far has been with the crowd on fire. And that's just one of those elements that you can kind of tell that, oh, okay, it's not just us. The people in Japan appreciate and like what he's doing also. So, yeah, man, this is a really good measuring stick type of test for Tsuji, showing that he is a guy that if he's not in the main event scene, if he won't win his first title, being the world title from Sonata or Naito, he definitely is knocking on that door at some point and could become a champion any day now. But the thing is also, like you mentioned, after this match with Moxley and doing it, I already knew the match was coming, but to watch Moxley get a promo and just come out and stand in Naito's face, it was one of those situations where it's like, man, I can't wait to see this fight, but I really, really don't know what's going to happen. So it was really added suspense to what was coming up.
Yeah, without a doubt. And we know what's coming up. I can't wait. But again, like you said, with Tsuji as well, though, again, if this was maybe WWE, you know, he might have won at this point. And then again, where do you go from kind of there? And this is another story they can come back to. Like I said, he's passed his test. The crowd's, and this is what I love about the crowd as well. So they almost feel guilty about cheering for him sometimes, and then have to change their chants and then come back. But there's the kind of, like I said, the connection that they've got with these wrestlers that is not elsewhere. And again, we talk about backstage comments. I feel for Akira. He looked like shit. I mean, again, with the hives on his chest. But the same thing happened to my tooth as well. So, you know, I feel sorry for you.
He can take an ass whooping, man. He's
my
tough
God,
kid,
no.
man.
Like, give him a week off. You know, that's all I'm saying. Like, you know. Greater Khan said to TJP, you want to be captain, you have to win something. Because, of course, since Ospreay's left, we're trying to find out who the leader is. But again, he's got a point, hasn't he?
Got a point, yeah.
You know, Greater Khan's like, I win eating contests. What do you do?
And I loved it because they were such a tight-knit group when they had a leader in place. I thought it was kind of bull jive that they were going to try to, you know, act like everything is fine and TJP can just say I'm the leader. Like, no, that's not how it works. You know, whoever is the champion, whoever is, you know, leading the pack and wins should be the leader. So I love that approach. And back to Akira before we move on. Akira gives off Dragunov vibes. I'm not saying he is it, but like with the damage he takes, he doesn't sell or whatever the same way, but the way he just keeps fighting through hell, it reminds me of a very young one.
He looks like shit. Like, again, like he really needs a vacation. And what's funny as well, Defy doesn't want Chase Owens. Kenta actually said that. You know, he's like, look, I might be the Defy champion. They've got no interest in you. Speaking of belts, Show lost his title again. He really needs to do something. You know, if he can only like put it around his waist or something like that. And then Jack Perry called everybody cowards and says he hates Chicago. And at this point in time, I thought it was a coincidence that Punk was with Seth Rollins and Moxley was wrestling Jack Perry. It's weird how the wrestling world works sometimes.
Right? That's a great shout, you know? Great shout, you know? Just funny how full circle everything goes in wrestling.
Finn tells Tsuji he's a failure, which kicks off a fight between LIJ and the War Dogs. On to injury news, and Monty, it's been rough. Tanahashi had an injury that we knew about. Finley, Dan Maloney. I mean, it all kind of stems from this cage match.
Yeah.
Which, you know, doesn't look really good now.
Makes you wonder.
The two main ones was, of course, Hanare, who apparently nearly bled out, and, of course, Alex Coughlin, which is a damn show, because he was my one to watch a couple of years ago.
Yeah, man, and the Coughlin one really, really hurt. Hanare, I kind of figured, because if you remember watching that match, I thought he died. I thought it was a chance. I thought they needed to run like a medic down during the match for Hanare. Because wow, you saw how they had to tape up his head. Like, yeah, I knew that one was rough. Man, it was really, really sucked to kind of hear how bad that injury was and the ramifications too. It really sucked. It really, really sucked, man. It's just one of those things. And like you say, and you know what, the unfortunate thing too to me, and no, this is not me wishing injury on Ospreay, but I'm just saying the one who seemed to get out perfectly fine, so he can continue on his career in AEW. New Japan had to get the worst end of the stick in the big match idea. That's the one thing about it. It's just like you said, all the injuries stem from their cage match, and most of them come directly from everybody who you might want to rely on going forward, especially immediately when you're losing Okada and Ospreay. So it was just really unfortunate. Really unfortunate.
Yeah. It is a shame, like I said, that's Scott Clean. I mean, again, you never know, but at the moment in time, it's a damn shame. We know there's a lot of injuries in wrestling. And talking about Jack Perry a minute ago, I mean, talking about crying a river, I bet he's happy at the moment because his T-shirt, Scapegoat, completely sells out on New Japan website. And not only that, his AEW shirt selling well as well. Probably not the correct grammar there, Monty, but you know what I'm trying to get at. It's, again, as we mentioned with Jack Perry, he's selling the merch, and that's all that matters. And again, he's become a star off the back of New Japan.
100%, man. 100%. It's like, again, it's that rebrand, it's that a focus to, the attention to detail. Do I think maybe some people who just don't like Punk also was able to put in? I think leaning into that helped. Some people who
McIntyre. Again.
Yeah, exactly. The McIntyre effect. Exactly. I feel like all of that. Maybe McIntyre sold it out himself. Just bought a bunch of Scapegoat shirts.
I'm so pleased it's a New Japan pod, and I've mentioned him like 3 times already.
I think the unfortunate thing is WWE's relationship is not good with New Japan, or he would definitely pop up in one of those shirts. But you can't do that now. But it would definitely be one of those things, man, that it's really cool to see. But I do think leaning into it. But I still stand by the whole. I think some people were using to say that this is why the footage thing worked. I'm just like, all right, you're really overplaying the impact of the footage. The footage that they showed on AEW, okay, it paid off and it ended up being fine. But I still think he would be just as over, like you said, if a lot of the people who are watching both products see the improvement. Because like you just mentioned, it's all about his presentation and what he felt like in New Japan. And of course, the selling out in New Japan, it's the House of Torture effect also because they're selling out. So, Hey, money all around. But good for Jack because, again, people needed something to latch on to other than, hey, that's Luke Perry's son.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Which, by the way, Japanese Twitter was going crazy when they found that out, by the way. Hey, that's Luke Perry's son.
That's crazy. On to Winter City Riot, Trish Adora and Alex Winter defeated Mina Shikawa and Viva Van. Ren Narita defeated Minoru Suzuki. I'm pretty sure Narita's finisher is the push-up bar to the face.
Man,
I've not seen him hit another move. New Japan Strong Women's Championship, Stephanie Vaquer defeated, I'm going to say amazing, but I'm probably wrong, AZM. I mean, this match was great, even if I can't get the names right. And of course, Stephanie has got a bigger date at the Forbidden Door versus Mercedes Moné.
Azumi is her name. I know it's spelled AZM, but it's Azumi. So I know
Azumi,
don't.
There we go. No, that's fine. And again, Alex wins the challenger afterwards. But again, we talk about Stephanie with Mercedes Moné, and this is going to get a lot of eyes on her, even though if the result is maybe, I don't want to say foregone conclusion. I mean, if the girls are listening, I'm backing Stephanie.
Right. Yeah. I wouldn't mind. I know it'll shock everybody, but I think why not? Unless we're going Mercedes Goldberg, which is, I'm not opposed to it. I'm not opposed to Mercedes winning everything. But to be honest, man, Stephanie's a star, and Stephanie can definitely be one of the best. And I hope people see that not only like you said, they're definitely going to see it in Mercedes, but if you go back to this with Azumi and just her strong matches in general, when she won the belt from Julia, she is a very, very great worker. She's physical. She has a very unique look. She's beautiful. Like, all of that plays a factor into why she's one of the best that CMLL has to offer, and also the strong women's champion. So, yeah, I'm with you. Forbidden Door is going to be a big deal. I cannot wait to see her. And if we're going off the way the last pay-per-view happened for Mercedes and they got like 15, 20 minutes, I think her and Stephanie can steal the show.
without doubt, looking forward to that. New Japan Strong Openweight Tag Team Championships TMDK defeated Gritters of Destiny, Fred Ross and Tom Lawyer, and the West Coast Wrecking Crew. Yes, TMDK win silver. After the match, the West Coast Wrecking Crew attacked Rosser and Lawyer after dropping Lawyer a pile driver. They held him down, cut his hair, then fed Lawler's hair clippings to Rosser. Nice. I've been a bit disappointed because, as you know, Monty, I've been watching a lot of kind of Strong.
We're going to say the same thing.
Kind of hardcore in there.
Yeah.
It is a shame to see Fred and that. But again, it's great to see TMDK because they are consistently great and they're finally getting their roses.
Yeah, man. It's almost amazing that it's taking this long for them to ride. I mentioned the tag division earlier and just how it needs someone to kind of step up in that spot next to Bishimon, right now. And I think TMDK is definitely a choice, man. They're by far some of the strongest talents on the roster together. And, this was, like you said, one of those steps in the right direction for them. And like you mentioned, you mentioned Fred. I'm disappointed in Fred. I'm disappointed in Lawler, too. I think New Japan has talent that can come flesh out and work this roster, but I don't know if it's because maybe the guys wants to stay more to just loyal to Strong and only do the Strong events in America, or is this a New Japan thing that we want to keep these guys here and don't, do this? Like, what is it? I do remember in the G1 and last year, and I do remember a couple of moments where Tom Lawler would mention that he wasn't invited to things. So it sucks. It really sucks, in my opinion, that a guy like as good as Tom, a guy like Fred Rosser, don't have a bigger responsibility when we talk about New Japan, because I think they're two of the best that New Japan can put on television, and they don't even have to be Bullet Club affiliated. You know what I mean? I don't think you have to work too hard. Tom has his own thing going, or had his own thing going, and you also have Fred, who's just he was the open, like you said, he was a Strong champion. It has to be a spot or something that they can do, right?
Yeah, it's really weird, and again, hopefully we'll see what happens. But again, even kind of the fallout from this, I've not seen a lot really. But again, we'll get onto that. Shoot Romano defeated Jack Perry. Full match, chance of CM Punk echoed through the arena. Guards armed with body armor, shields, and batons. But much like CM Punk in Glasgow, we'll discuss next week, it wasn't that bad a reaction. Perry did lose with a Death Rider. After match, Perry offered Umino a handshake, which Umino accepted. And again, like we said, New Japan, job done there. And Shooter gets a victory over kind of guy who's hot at the moment as well.
Yeah, this was excellent. It wasn't, like you mentioned, it wasn't John Cena one night stand. It wasn't that type of Jack Perry reaction. They wasn't trying to take over the match, and if Jack won, they were going to ride. I don't think that was the case. But like you mentioned, Jack definitely leaned into it, played off the heat or whatever you want to call it, really, really well. It was fresh off the video. I think this is like literally a week after or whatever, not too long right after they kind of stoked more of that Punk type of Jack Perry fire, if it was more to be stoked at that point. You had that. But at the end of the day, these were New Japan fans who a lot of times are, at this point of view in America, they're kind of crossing paths with AEW. So I knew it wasn't going to be crazy, but I do think he leaned into that villain role really well. It was a great match, him and Shota Umino, and just the way they kind of put everything together and the finish and all of that. It was incredible stuff. Shota looked great. And I think this was good, man. You can't really complain. And at this point, I think we all kind of can tell with the way everything ended that this is pretty much the end of Jack Perry in New Japan. I think I was kind of disappointed, but I knew if that was the case, they finally had something for him, probably back in All Elite Wrestling. And again, it was one of those situations where I could be salty at AEW, but I'm gonna save my saltiness for a little bit later on in Chicago. But I can't hate on this match. This was good.
No, I'm a little bit disappointed as well. Not, just like Jack Perry and maybe having a bit longer, but even as we're going to see with Nick Nemeth and Mustafa Ali, seems like kind of the guys coming in, and maybe with Moxley, it's like we're not really getting a full run. But again, I mentioned Mustafa Ali. He did defeat Hiromu Takahashi, TNA wins. X Division champ beats one of the best in the junior heavyweight division. Chicago's own, of course. After the match, Bloody Ali shook hands with Hiromu. This had more comedy than expected, like a hench cat. That was the thing. I was like, wow.
It was great to see Dare. But I was very disappointed in this. I know about Daryl the Cuddle Toy. I know some people really hated that, so I understand. Hiromu hasn't brought him out in a while, so maybe newer fans don't know much about the history with Daryl and just the time bomb thing. But yeah, because Bad Luck Fale a while ago murdered Daryl, and we hadn't seen him for a while. So it was. I know the history with Daryl. Some people just sum this up to a comedy match, and I don't think it was, like you mentioned, I don't think it was all comedy, but it definitely was too much comedy for guys that we look at and say, these are two of the best lighter weight wrestlers in the world. Why don't they just go out there and do what they had to do? I saw some people not happy that Ali was able to just win, but he was in Chicago too. I think some people. I think after this show they were trying to act like he pulled a Hogan or something, or he leaned into that, which is hilarious to think about. That Ali would have like Hogan stroke powers at this point. But it was, again, I'm disappointed because I really wanted this to be like one of those junior heavyweight classics. But these strong shows are not necessarily when at this point in the card either. They're not necessarily for that. So. I don't know. Maybe we'll get more down the line. Maybe not. I think it's just tough, like you mentioned, with all this cross promotion.
Yeah, without doubt. And again, like I said, Mustafa Ali's gimmick at the moment is like he's unbeaten. He's 30-0, and again, that might be an issue booking him if he doesn't want to do the job, brother. Kidd, Ken Clark Connors and David Finlay defeated Eddie Kingston, TJP, Jeff Cobb, and Homicide. We've got Falk, we've got Table, we've got a lot of other things as well. Kidd hit Homicide with a pile driver to win the match. Afterwards, Kingston and Kidd couldn't leave themselves alone, and there's a no ropes last man standing match at Resurgence. I'm sure Eddie will do fine. New Japan World Television Championship, Zack Sabre Jr. defeated Matt Riddle. This match was awesome, right? It was filled with great sequences that made the 15 minutes fly by. We know Zack may be the best wrestler on the planet when he's able to motivate his opponents, but again, just makes you think of the drop-off Matt Riddle has had this past couple of years or so. We see Jeff Cobb then walk into the ring and challenge him for the belt. But again, Zack, I'm annoyed he's not featured more. That's my only issue at the moment.
Yeah, and you would think with the glaring hole at the top, not so much as a guy at the top, but just as a scene. And when you have a guy like Zack, who is full-time New Japan, who's obviously one of the best, and it just had me believing that maybe they're saving it. I think we'll see. I'm not trying to get my hopes up too high about the G1 or anything, but I just hope that that's what's going on. That maybe they're leaning into it. They're saving something so we can finish off the year strong with Zack doing some big things. But I don't know, man. It felt like a big ass circle. I thought when he lost the TV title in the first place, we were heading to bigger and better things. But then to kind of go I know I saw some people who just really were scratching their head. Happy that Zack was back on top, like Zack won, and he didn't lose to a guy like Riddle because people don't really like Riddle at all. But I'm with you. This is just one of those reminders of that. This is a guy who was like a really close Roman Reigns, 2 count away from being the champion in a hell of a SmackDown match. I remember that match vividly. Riddle can go, and I think it's just one of those things that you just shake your head at and say, man, he's one of the best in the world. He could still be in WWE towards the top. I mean, right now he could possibly be a Cody challenger or a teammate against the Bloodline or on Raw doing something in the world heavyweight title scene. He could be doing so much more if he just wouldn't get out of his own way. If he would have just got out of his own way in WWE, and then. So to watch him go against a guy like Zack, who's awesome, like you said, if you're down to go and really wrestle, you're gonna get one of the best matches you can get out of yourself when you're going against a guy like Zack. So it's cool to see them really test themselves and go at it. But yeah, man, it's just one of those things. You just kind of shake your head thinking about it. Both situations, really, when it comes to where Zack is too. But I'm just hoping. I'm holding out hope that big things are coming for Zack sooner than later. But yeah, man, I think. They have to pull the trigger because he's another guy that, he's lawyer now, but if you keep just banking on the fact that Zack is going to come back, and not giving him the keys to the kingdom, so to speak, is really gonna be tough. Like you mentioned with Gabe Kidd and Maloney, and even Finley down the line. Like you could end up with a complete sweep of a lot of your best talent.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? It's all well and good building for the future, but again, this is what you need, the continuation of it as well, and stars to come through. We see Nick Nemeth defeating Tomohiro Ishii. TNA wins again. And then the IWGP World Heavyweight title, John Moxley versus Naito. Well, we see Naito try for a Destino, but Moxley escaped after a short back and forth. Moxley hit another Death Rider for another near fall. Moxley then hit a Lariat and a Death Rider to win the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. After the match, Moxley cut an emotional promo. He thanked Chicago for calling out Shooter, his former protege. Before he could finish, Ren Narita attacked Moxley with a push-up bar. Umino hit the ring to make the save. So Moxley is the new champion, Monty. What were your thoughts when this happened?
Yeah, it was one of those things that, like, I kind of was. It felt after the match, I kind of just felt like, so this whole time I've just been fighting against the inevitable when I was talking to other New Japan fans and certain, and people were very split. I will admit that. I've seen a lot of guys who just, it's some people, and I'm not gonna lie, I agree. Naito is past his prime, but I don't think he's at the end. And I think because they wasted so much of his prime making him the second guy behind Okada or chasing Okada, they kind of went a little too long. He kind of got robbed, especially in 2020. And we know injuries played a factor, but when the pandemic happened and then you have all of that stuff, you have to elevate evil because you can't have all of your talent. Like a lot of New Japan went through a lot in the last 4 years where Naito was supposed to possibly take over. Then if he wasn't, I always maintain he should have won at 18, but that's just me. So I get the arguments for Moxley because people thought that this is a way to freshen it up. But my whole thing is, and I think as time went on, I was kind of confirmed to be correct, or a lot of the people who were like me at the beginning who wanted Naito to maintain the belt, to at least have a sort of long run. Like, I know how New Japan works. A lot of times your world champion does lose it before the sometimes usually it's at the New Japan Cup when that happens if they're gonna do it, but they lose it before the G1 just to get it back right before the G1 leading up to Wrestle Kingdom. Sometimes that has happened. I know Okada has done it with Tanahashi, or Tanahashi has done it to Okada a couple times. So yeah, I get it, but to have it beat Moxley at a strong event. So it wasn't even in an event that you're used to a title changing hands in. And then it's an AEW guy. Even though I will say this, and I do not disagree, if it's going to be an AEW guy, Moxley is the guy I don't mind because he's one of those guys, other than like maybe a Kenny Omega who kind of built up a name in New Japan. Moxley's one of those guys who from the beginning, since leaving WWE, has been a stickler for loving New Japan, and he's always paid it forward as far as like, doing what he has to do. The problem is, I know that it's certain things, scheduling wise and stuff like that, that's out of Moxley's control. He may want to do Road 2 shows. He may want to do certain things, but I just know that for his AEW, I was not going to be on board unless I knew for sure that Tony Khan was going to lend Moxley to New Japan for a lot of their events. And as we'll see going forward, it just wasn't the case. He was doing more stuff with AEW. I don't know if we're going to talk about any of those defenses on AEW television, but I do know that had a ripple effect on the locker room, at least for some of the comments that they had, and we can talk about that too. But yeah, man, I had a lot of feelings about it. The match itself was spectacular. I was really into the match. They really beat the hell out of each other. I should have been because it's a Moxley match. He gonna bleed. I'm not used to a lot of blood in my world title New Japan matches, but they really beat the hell out of each other. He really brought out that side of Naito that shows where he can still go. He doesn't go there all the time, but I just think that Naito can't really go there all the time. He's no one, in my opinion, unless you're, like an Osprey in your late 20s, early 30s type of range. No one that's over 40 or about to be 40 can be that physical and like that type of wrestler every night. And I don't know if you need to be. So that's my argument for why he should have ran with the belt longer. He's never had that long-standing run, and maybe it doesn't have to be an entire year, but multiple defenses against people from New Japan, in my opinion, primarily would have been appreciated instead of getting what? Sho and Tsuji and then this. You know what I mean? It's rough.
But I think the three things, though, if we talk about as well, talk about taking that risk, so to speak. I think with Naito, again, it's weird on the New Japan side to see how popular he is, and thinking, like I said, the houses were doing well. It's not like there wasn't, selling tickets. There was kind of the story going on as well with the kind of young lions, and this Mox thing just seems a bit out of nowhere. Again, I understand if you're a casual fan, American fan, or whatever else it is, you see Moxley as New Japan champion. You go, oh, well, hang on a minute. He's New Japan, is he? Okay. Don't know if you're going to go check that out because of it, but again, that's another thing. And again, my issue with it, I don't know about you, in fact, is AEW. Okay, and I know, wrestlers have to make money, but when New Japan have the losses of an Okada and an Ospreay,
yes,
where it's AEW actually taken, and then AEW going, oh no, actually we'll help you out, Moxley. It's like, but you're the issue. Again, it's like,
right.
I'm not saying a working relationship with WWE, but it seems at the moment that it's like, oh, and Moxley's going to champion, and he's not going to do a full tour. But again, like we said, as we know with Forbidden Door now, we'll put the title on the line and a couple of Dynamites, and it's not. They may think they're doing well, but it's with Japan as well. And something I've learned, it's the kind of traditions that they've got, and it really has, like you said, pissed off. It seems quite a few wrestlers there as well.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, it's like you said, it's traditions. Like regular television shows, that is not where that belt is supposed to be ever defended. Like you said, you see what is the equivalent of that for them. The equivalent of that is Road to Show. So when your average Japanese fan is watching a random AEW, and it doesn't feel like it's a build to it. It's just, oh, this is an IWGP title eliminator. So they're just watching their champion have competitive one-on-one matches on regular television against sometimes guys that they may not even have a clue who this is, and they don't know why. It's confusing to your average New Japan viewer, from that standpoint too. And you're 100% right. Like you've already taken you're taking our ace, and you're taking literally the foreign ace, or literally the guy that we had on top of our multiple divisions for years, right next to Okada. And they're going full time for the most part. Not to mention the Jay Whites, not to mention Juice Robinson, not to mention all the other talent that you've already kind of usurped. And then you still want to borrow some of our guys for your random Rampage match, or for your random this match and that match, whenever our guys are available for U.S. tour. And then it's just like, it's so many slaps in the faces, or at least feel seemingly that way to people who look at New Japan as a promotion for itself. Now, if you look at New Japan as an addition onto AEW, this is all great for you. This is cool. But when you go to a guy, when you're like me and you've been watching New Japan from 2016, before this company even existed, and you just watch them not only take the stars from it, but it seems so one-sided. It'd be a completely different thing if you were telling me, oh, well, while this is going on, they're going to send and then going back to Jack Perry, we knew that this was probably it for Jack, and he's going to go back to AEW. So you give us Jack for a couple months, and not even that long, really, for him to really do a lot in New Japan. And then you not only that, you're taking the IWGP World Championship from them. Like at the time, I was really, really just like upset from that point of view. Also, it was just really tough. And it's just really hard to look at the relationship and think that New Japan is gaining much from it, other than, oh, okay, they might, like, all right, do I think they're getting maybe some new fans, maybe some more viewership for some of their bigger events? Sure, maybe, just maybe. But you can't tell me, James, that it's not obvious that one side is benefiting a hell of a lot more in the long run than the other side is. Maybe you get some temporary benefits, like, hey, we got a lot of subscribers for our Wrestle Kingdom this year, and that was great. But how many people are you retaining throughout the year when half of your talent is not on television? And some of that is injury, some of that is just bad luck, and then some of that is we can see some of these same guys having matches on AEW now. So why am I, as an American fan, why am I subscribed?
And not only that, but Tony maybe should ask the question, if there's an AEW World Title match and you're not going against a New Japan star because it's not only strong enough, it's probably your fault,
Come on now. And that's a really good point. Like, exactly. That's a really good point. The fact that you kind of don't have that like at the beginning, like when we had the potential for an Okada or whoever the IWGP
Jay White,
when it was Jay White,
Jay
White versus Adam Cole and all this or whatever they had going on. Like, you had all of that potential, and then now all of those same guys. As a matter of fact, if you look at the Forbidden Door card, some of these guys that was at the top of the card for New Japan are now 100% AEW.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's insane. Japanese fans don't even. The only way they can watch one of the guys that the last time they seen him, he had to get carried out, or last time they seen him, he had an exhibition in Japan. But they watch him now holding the camera, which I don't mind. I don't think him and Hook and Joe are a bad trio. But you know what I mean? Imagine if you were just a pure New Japan fan and a guy who the last time you seen him, you didn't know if he would ever wrestle again, and then he's never had a real match. I understand his health. It may be possible to just all due to health in New Japan. They've had rumors that they didn't want it either. But at the end of the day, it's still just frustrating, in my opinion, a lot of times. What if I favor the way New Japan did things over AEW? Am I just forced to having to watch AEW to watch some of my favorites? Like, that's where I'm at now when it comes to Ospreay and Okada. Like, I'm kind of like, maybe I don't like how they do certain things, but this is the only way I'm going to see those guys is if I watch this.
Well, that's the issue. The issue, and again, people will moan as well, say, we'll look at these guys going to WWE, but at least with WWE, it's a WWE environment. It's not like a New Japan Light, which AEW seems to be more about now than kind of ever in using these guys, and it's really interesting actually to say that. We're going to talk about Moxley a little bit more as well, but 6-man tag titles, and again, of course, with Okada leaving, they vacated them, and the APFW New Japan Wrestling World 2024 in Taiwan was a special event on April 14th. It was the first major event promoted under the banner and had an attendance of 800 fans. We had the openweight 6-man tag title semi-final. Tanahashi, Toru Yano, and Boltin Oleg defeating United Emperor, Greater Khan, Akira, and Callum Newman. In the Ember semi-final, House of Torture, Evil Show, and Kalamura defeated Lawson and Goldbernables, with Shingo, Tsuji, and Bushi. We also saw Starlight Kid defeating Hanako, and number one contendership, Doki defeating Vegeta, and the IW Tag Team Championship. I will say Bishamon did beat Kenta and Chase Owens back at Sakura Genesis, so I do apologise for the wrong result there. Bishamon defended against Sanada and Yuri Uemura. And then in the final, Tanahashi, Toru Yano, and Boltin Oleg defeated House of Torture to win the vacant titles. And again, I know you shouldn't say this, but I'm digging Boltin Oleg. I always like a freak, if you know what I mean. I'm not going to compare him to Lars Sullivan or anything like that. But again, and Tanahashi's like, how are we going to change it up? I tell you what, it will be me, and I'll get 2 new guys. But I still didn't mind it.
Yeah, no. I'm with you. It was hilarious that instead of some brand new champions, just plaster another Tanahashi team on it, because the president has to at least be a champion. But it was cool. Like you said, Oleg is awesome. I think he has really good potential. It's kind of cool to see him having a championship. I think that's a sign that they also see big things for him down the line coming up. So I think that's the best part about it. He has the look, he has the strength. He's unbelievably explosive. And I think that's something that we're gonna see down the line, maybe in a year or a couple years or two. He could be towards the higher part of the card also. Just the problem is, and this is not saying he has a problem, but that's the thing we were talking about with New Japan is they have a lot of, even with like Newman and some of the War Dog guys and just some of these people who are establishing themselves now, Khan and Honore, and they have a lot of great talent who have yet to kind of set a tone for themselves, but have the platform and the potential to do so now going forward with the Four Musketeers. But the problem with New Japan is obviously at the top, and I think going back to the Naito, not to stick on it, but like that's another element of it where it's like you're literally struggling with main event or like believable top tier talents right now. And we're in a process where we're trying to build everybody else up, and we don't even have a world champion to do it.
Yeah, you're bang on about that. Like you said, it's interesting times. Again, I don't want to compare it to WWE, but I think most people will, in that way. And again, it's the equivalent of bringing back legends to kind of fill a slot that aren't going to be full-time guys. And then there's examples set on the roster, and, the younger guys going, oh, how long do I have to do it? Like you said with Zack Sabre Jr. earlier, before you think I can get paid, 5-10 times more, less work, and actually get a title made for me or something like this,
Right.
Who knows what Tony's promising, we don't know. April 22nd, voted Dontaku, LIJ versus War Dogs. Tell you what, Shingo did a good job cleaning that title. LIJ won. The main event, Faction Warfare, just 5 guys versus United Empire. And again, this was different. We saw 7 matches between them. In the end, it was TJP defeating Taichi. After the match, TJP announced Callum Newman as the first entry into the G1 Climax. And again, what I didn't know, TJP can speak Japanese. And he says he is a captain now. Is this the right choice?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those things. I don't mind it. As far as like this, as far as TJP, because I think as a talent and all of that, I think experience-wise, he's a good person for the position. But when you have a Jeff Cobb, maybe I don't know everything. Maybe with contracts, and maybe that has something to do with the decision making. Also, when you have a Jeff Cobb, and even O'Khan to an extent, I think O'Khan is probably the safest bet. But I can understand maybe because of the KOPW stuff being so goofy and all of that, maybe him being the leader just doesn't work right now. But I don't know how O'Khan isn't the guy, in my opinion, when it just comes to the fact that he can kind of do it. Maybe because the United Empire is about unity, is about being, being from just, having Japan, but also having other places involved. Maybe that has a little bit to do with it too. But TJP, I don't mind it. I think he can be good in that spot. But yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking, and at this time when this happened, I was thinking that maybe for now he is the leader. But as things go on, as things continue on, will that stay? Will be the interesting thing. Will that stick?
Yeah, right down. April 23rd, Never Openweight 6-man tag team championships. Tanahashi, Bolton, Iyanu defeated House of Torture. And then we got a Bullet Club War Dogs versus LIJ best of 5 series. We got Yota Tsuji defeating Gedo in seconds. Bullet Club. Then we had Gabe Kidd defeating Bushi. Shingo defeated Clark Connors. And the biggest surprise, Driller Maloney defeating Naito. At this point, Monty, I'm thinking, fucking hell.
Go ahead and put
they
the
are
dirt
burying
on my boy,
him.
right? Yeah.
Is he leaving? What's happening? Jake Lee did help Driller. But again, who the fuck is Jake Lee?
Yeah, the thing is about Jake, oh my goodness. Yeah, man. It really started. It really was trying me, man. Like honestly, this was some trying times. Not just because, and again, I love New Japan. I'm not just Naito biased, but he's definitely one of the main reasons why I watch New Japan. And I love Driller Malone. I think Driller definitely has the potential. I love how protected his finisher, you know what I mean, has been. So him beating Naito definitely was frustrating, but at the same time, I do not think that the way they did this, man, I just it really wasn't something I was ready for. But he's a guy. Jake Lee is a guy from Noah. If you don't know about Noah, he is a former heavyweight champion from Noah. He is more so known, in my opinion, at least from my point of view, from what I heard, he more so known for his looks, and that's not what you would actually think about when you think about a guy who can, who's a world champion who can wrestle. He's not really known for somebody who's going to go out there and have a classic. So I wasn't really excited about this at all from that point of view either. So I think that's what kind of made it worse. Like, so all right, not only do my guy lose the Driller, he got to deal with Jake Lee.
It's not like Driller is next in line, or he's junior heavy at the moment.
What does he gain from the win either? Yeah,
well, even Finley is going. What do I have to do? Like, why do you pick Driller? I mean, Finley beat Takahashi, but who gives a fuck? The funniest thing for me was Shingo calling Clark Connors Canart Clatz, which again just popped me. I like Shingo. April 27th show, and Doki had the best contract signing ever. I'm not going to say anything else. Just go and watch it if you can. Jeff Cobb and Akira defeated Zack Sabre Jr. and Vegeta. A strong open tag title. Mikey Nichols, Shane Hayes defeated Hikuleu and ELP. And again, Monty, I will mention this because I'm sure we get onto it. Some wrestlers, Okada, Ospreay, get lovely kind of exits from the company. There's a few, right? Like, I'm not saying Hikuleu is officially left, but we saw it as well with like Tangaloa as well. Some of them are just like, fuck off.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. And I think if it is over, and this is the only, I'm not defending New Japan either because I don't think Hikuleo deserved it, but I think from their point of view, if it is over and he's possibly going to where people are rumored to believe he could go, which is with his brothers to WWE, I think from the New Japan perspective, they're like, you were in the dojo for a while. It took I'm not gonna say a long time, but you were in developmental a while. We kind of made you the quality that you were. And before you were ever in the dojo, WWE contacted you about trying to get, just because of the way you look, they were fine with training Hikuleo, if you know what I mean, and with his lineage, which obviously it makes sense, right? But you stuck it out. You said you turned it down then, and then now we get you. And when you can potentially be one of the biggest stars for us, now because your brothers have answered the call, they at least, and Tonga Lord, like you said, they kind of gave him the middle finger too. But Tonga Lord at least also can make the argument. I'm a 7-time tag champion. I don't know what else. I'm not gonna be here by myself. I just don't know what else is there for me to do. People killing any of my performances one-on-one anyway. They don't, I think, to be honest, he fits WWE style better just for what he does. And people forget that. I saw everybody who killed Tonga Lord, like, he wasn't in the dojo for New Japan. He wasn't like Juice Robinson, who went to NXT and then went to the dojo of New Japan to change up his style to become Juice Robinson. No, Tonga Lord was trained in the old FCW NXT type of deal. You know what I mean? God. Yeah, he trained in those in that era, right? And then he was brought over to New Japan, and they just kind of called him up because his brother was already there. He had a good look, and he kind of learned on the fly in the tag division where you're protected anyway. So, like, his singles run didn't work out because that's just not his strong suit as a wrestler. His strong suit is a power guy on a tag team, preferably with his brother. So, at the end of the day, it makes sense. Hikuleo, I can see them kind of being salty. And maybe that's why, if this is it, this is what it is. Because I feel like the timing of it, because it's like, this, we can push you to the moon, Hikuleo. Like, it's perfect time now.
Well, they had him murder all the Musketeers last year, didn't they? And it
right.
was G1 last year. Like, and then they're going, what?
But also, I can argue Hikuleo's side. My family's going here. And money and everything about the way you're running things right now. I'm not confident that I can't be confident in anything about you, New Japan, but I can be confident that I can go make money in the bloodline with my brothers and in WWE. So, you see what I'm saying? Like, you can argue both sides.
Look, there's one thing, though, that we know. There's one man that's not going anywhere, and that's Great Khan, who put the KOPW title on the line in a rural revitalization match versus Uemura. Best 2 out of 3 wins. Round 1, 10-minute most tires on a traffic cone match. Yeah, that's right. Either opponent can remove the other tires to force them to start again. Round 2 is a 5-minute lemon eating contest. And then round 3, tables match. First one through a table loses. Who cares about the third round? First round, my God, you have never seen people stack tires like that. We see Julia roll up Khan so he can steal the tire he's carrying. He puts it on his stack and wins that part of the match 4-3. I loved it, but he did look a bit tired. In round 2, Khan ends up eating an entire lemon and defeating Yura. I mean, Greater Khan cannot be stopped there. And then in the tables match, which, again, wasn't really paying attention, I was paying attention, actually, to Khan pulling a lemon out from under the ring and rubbing it in Yura's eyes. Have that, you're blinded. But it was Yura suplexing Khan through a table that he set up in the corner to become the new divisional champion. Yura is the first in his class to win gold. And this is gold, Monty. Like, I don't want Yura. If Yura starts having serious wrestling contests now, I'm fucked off. We need eating contests in these matches. This is like Heritage Cup on crack.
That's a good point. It's a really good point, especially when Okan had it. Because I thought Yano was hilarious in his utilization of the match. But I did not realize until Okan got it that we just were scratching the surface. I did think this was a good moment for Uemura, though, like you mentioned, being the first to pick up a title. But also, just even if it is the KOPW, like I said, he was the one I think the most from like a fan perspective who had things to prove because he had probably the least to latch on to as a character. Even less than Rita, especially with his House of Torture ties and just kind of his unsettling character that he kind of has now. And then with you have Shota, who's just a star. And then you have Tsuji, who has that aura about him, that smile, the star power, the style, and the explosive style in the ring. And then you have Uemura, who was kind of, even though he came, he had late and he had a great look. He came in kind of late and he had a great look. And I did love the character work he kind of did in Impact, but that didn't really account because that stuff didn't really carry over to Japan at first. So to give him this, I think it's a chance to give people different ways to kind of latch on to whatever it is that he kind of has going on. I think with the cutting that hair, everything they've kind of done with Uemura so far since Wrestle Kingdom has been kind of trying to give fans and everybody else something to latch on to. And I wouldn't mind it if it does continue to keep a comedy kind of style to it. I wouldn't mind it. But I'm just excited to see what does he bring to the belt, because I think that's the best part about your Heritage Cup on crack is that each run with the belt, you kind of got an insight. Like even when Taiji had it a short while, the fact that he did the workout type of thing, yes, he was calling Okan fat, but you see the shape Taiji Ishimori is in. That kind of lets you know like what Taiji is all about. Same thing with Yano, it's nonsensical stuff a lot of time when he had the cup. So yeah, you know what I mean? Like I do kind of love that that's kind of also what the KLPW can be used for. It can give you insight into the character. Like Okan, I always knew he could be ridiculous, especially with some of his backstage comments and his antics on social media, but for him to kind of lean into that on television, in New Japan content, I thought it was a great way, and I hope this just only means bigger and better things for Okan too, because like I mentioned earlier, he's a guy who I would be moving up the card.
Unless we get an IWGP eating contest title
championship,
Okan is never losing that. Yeah. In the main event, Los Ingobernables fought the Bullet Club with new ally Jake Lee from Pro Wrestling Noah, and Sly might be the greatest mascot ever. I did get quite distracted by him. In the end, it did come down to Naito versus Lee, with Naito sending him outside. Again, different, nice to see. Of course, with the rivalries going on during the match as well, we saw Gabe and Shingo, drawing.
Oh my goodness.
I'm backing Sly over Jake Lee, and I think he's a great addition to Los Ingobernables.
I would not argue with you. I would not argue with you. I do not. Oh my goodness, Jake Lee. Like I said, I didn't care for him from the little bit I seen from Noah. So this again, that's just one of those situations. I was like, all right, I know he has credibility, but really, Naito has to deal with Jake Lee. And back to your Finley point, if I'm Finley, I'm like, I'm not believable enough. You have to go get Jake Lee.
You have to get this good-looking prick. Like,
Right. That's his
it's
thing.
not
He's a handsome. I think his whole stick was handsome emperor, handsome world champion. Like that's all. All right. I'm glad. All right. You look good. You look nice, Jake. Okay. Move on. Move along.
Well, we'll move on. April 29th, and it was a good night for Bullet Club War Dogs in the semi-main event as Connors and Drilla Manoni successfully defended the IWGP Junior Heavyweight titles against Bushi and Takahashi, with, like you said, Bushi taking the pin. In the Junior Heavyweight title match, it was Sho versus Doki. A lot going on here, as every House
So
of Torture
much.
match. Doki had the Doki Choki. Doki Choki, mate. Doki Choki. But the bell sounded. Doki released the hold. However, it was that dick who hit the bell. Doki hit. Doki clothesline Kanemaru for Ren Narita. Entered the ring, hit the double cross on Doki, and there you go, the win. It's weird how few wrestlers have grown on me, and Doki is another one where every time he's in the ring, I'm just like, Doki Choki, Doki Choki. And I don't know if that's just down to the commentary or actually quite liking him.
Yeah, man, it's a little bit of both, but it's definitely Doki's just improvement in general. He's just worked his ass off to get better and better. And I'm really proud of him too. Just from the perspective of, I just remember where people didn't care to even get his name right. He was just Despy's little sidekick. In Suzuki-gun, he kind of was just getting overlooked at times. And of course, he was kind of in that Bushi role, but his was more of a, you have to earn your keep type of situation. Well, meanwhile, Bushi has kind of been here for a while, a long time at this point. Bushi and Yujiro are closer related than, as far as their roles, than where I would say Doki was. But Doki has just won. He's not only won you over, but he's won everyone over. And I'm really happy that a guy like him, because he wrestles such a unique style, and he's so good, that he has the potential to be the guy. And I think that's kind of one of the frustrating things when you kind of get him mixed up in the House of Torture BS, is that I think we all kind of want to see Doki get that opportunity and get that moment to be on top. But it just wasn't meant to be. And that is, as long as you're dealing with the House of Torture, you're just always at risk of just getting screwed, and that doesn't change here. But yeah, man, Doki he has the potential to also be where Hiromu is, or be at where Despy is, on top of the junior division.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is as well, the only thing that annoys me about Doki is when he does the interviews and he keeps moving his fucking mask, and it's just like, mate, is that much of an issue? Like, sort it out.
It's
Anyway,
impractical.
It really is. May 3rd, 6-man tag team match. John Moxley, El Desperado, Shoot Umino versus House of Torture. Of course, House of Torture attacked them during their introductions. It'd be rude not to, I suppose. Kanemaru sprayed whiskey in Desperado's eyes and rolls him up to get the win. Television title match, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Jeff Cobb. Zack Sabre Jr. went for rear naked choke, but Cobb rolled out and hit a release F5. This was great between the two. We see a tour all the islands to put away Zack Sabre Jr. And again, it's weird for me, Monty, because I don't think I've seen Jeff Cobb win single gold, even though they talked about, obviously, the kind of career he's had. So it's nice for him. And as you mentioned earlier, let's hope Zack is moving on to bigger and better things now,
Yeah, it's like you mentioned. It's a big victory for Jeff Cobb. He's often one of those guys who kind of beats the champion, but when the title match happens, he falls short for some reason. And I think Jeff Cobb is a guy that, in my opinion, I kind of talked about it earlier when I said who could possibly be the lead guy in the United Empire. I was really surprised when they just didn't just shoot up and let Jeff be the guy immediately, especially when you just think about how I don't really look at him. I'm not saying him and Ospreay are the same as far as like match quality, but as far as like talent and just like believability and his style, the strength, I don't know how Jeff Cobb hasn't been on top before this. The reason why he left Hantai, the babyfaces, along, when he turned on Tanahashi, was because for a long time he just seemed to be getting overlooked. And I think the fact that kind of has continued to a different extent in the United Empire, I thought this was really an awesome moment, and it couldn't pick a better opponent. Him and Zach have awesome chemistry together. But like we mentioned before, Zach has awesome chemistry with a lot of guys, and he's just that damn good. And I think, like you mentioned, if Zach is not one of the favorites to be on top by, or at least in position to be on top, but going into Wrestle Kingdom, I would be really, really disappointed because I just don't think there's anything left, in my opinion, other than that him being on top going into Wrestle Kingdom, possibly the winner of the G1 or at least in a position like that.
Yeah, and again, you mentioned earlier, it's weird at the moment with New Japan being in this position where they got guys, like Zap, who can be a main eventer. You're thinking just needs that next step. The same with Jeff Cobb. And I think, again, the next match we saw, Suji and David Finlay, it's that the same with these two. It's just that couple of victories to a bit more seriousness here. And the Finmeister is back because he got the victory here, which, again, might be a surprise because of Suji in recent times. But, again, it's Finlay trying to reassert his dominance after what we've seen this past few months. The global title match as well, Nick Nemeth versus Hiroshi Tanahashi. I don't know, Monty. I was expecting more. And I don't know, Tanahashi, yes, I understand the position he's in his career. But again, with Nemeth, it's even in TNA, it's just not clicking at the moment. And I just don't know what it is. Is it a case of maybe doing a style for too long and trying something else? I just don't know.
I think my thing is, and I like you said, I haven't minded much of his work. I think the match with Ishii was really good, but other than that, and like you said, I haven't seen a lot of the Impact stuff. Like, I think it has a lot to do with, like you said, wrestling the style. Me and you, if we've watched 100 Dolph Ziggler matches at this point, we all kind of know the certain spots and like that. And I think also just complete reinvention. I think he had an opportunity when he kind of left. We talked about it with Jack Perry. I think he needs that. I think who Moxley is as a Death Rider and what he kind of presented, especially when he first showed up in New Japan, that was completely different than Dean Ambrose. It had, we knew that this is possibly the same guy, but he came back jacked. He came back with an edgier look, the shaved head. It just, everything about him coming through the crowd the way he did and all of that, the not giving a damn, the Death Rider and all of that, that was complete character style reinvention. And I think as good as Ziggler or Nick is in the ring, and I think he hasn't really changed. I think it's the reason why we keep saying Ziggler. You know what I'm saying? It's the reason why.
Yeah.
Like, it just feels like Dolph Ziggler in New Japan or Dolph Ziggler in Impact, instead of it feeling like Nick Nemeth or whoever Nick is outside of what he presented to us in WWE. I don't know if it's just a lack of ideas or whatever it is, but that's what I believe he needs. I don't believe he needs to show up other places as himself. I think he needs, for example, I love John Morrison or Johnny Mundo or whatever, whatever he is now in Impact. I think Johnny Elite or whatever. Whatever
featured,
he is now.
I think
exactly.
Name,
Johnny never anyway. I love him, but it's the same thing with him. He's probably been that 2010 John Morrison gimmick in insert whatever company you can since then. And it's just like when you see him, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, he still can do some of the moves. He looked great. And that's about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's about it.
You're bang on. And again, even with Nick Nemeth, the T-shirt he's released on TNA Shop is the exact same design and colour. Like the yellow and the blue background. Like, it's the same stuff. And again, at least with Ali, we could argue, he's don't want to job out, but at least he's trying something a little bit different.
Yeah, something different. And again, I don't like giving him any credit. I don't want to see the learning tree. But if it's one thing about Jericho, it's one thing about him, he cut the Judas music off. He did. You see what I'm saying? He's trying to change everything about it, about himself, so he can get something else over. And that's one thing that you just have to do, because of the moves and some of that stuff. Yeah, that might not change, but the character, the presentation, it has to be different.
Yeah, without doubt. What I laughed at was Tanahashi shitting himself when the ticker tape went off after his match with Nemeth. And the thing is, it's like, mate, you pay for that. Like, you know what I mean? You know that's coming at some point. I don't know what he thought. May 4th, Bisherman, versus Bullet Club, Chase Owens, Kenta, IWGP Tag Team Championship. I've kind of ruined the ending for this. Yes, Kenta and Chase won. At least the cameraman will be happy. We saw Shingo versus Gabe Kidd for the Never Open Championship. Gabe's new tattoo with a sword behind his ear doesn't look crazy at all. Jesus Christ, what a hard-hitting affair. Shingo screaming at the crowd, Kidd spitting in his face. It's all for naught as Shingo connected the last of the Dragon for the win. But again, sometimes there's wrestlers that when they get together just create magic, and Gabe and Shingo just, just give them everything.
I said what I said at the beginning, and it wasn't just because of when you just kind of described it. I kind of had the memories in my head of some of those interactions. It's just like, that's what I mean. I said what I said earlier, not because I knew that they were bang. I just know their style fit, and it's just like you said. It's sometimes when you just know two guys' styles fit, and then they actually go in there and they make the beautiful. They just make art. You just sit back and you just be like, wow, they beat the hell out of each other, just like I knew they would. But they even, like you said, brought even more out of it because that's just what Gabe does. He's an irritator. He brings that anger. In my opinion, I don't believe anybody he's ever fought. I know we're not going to talk about it, but he had some matches with Kaito, and we mentioned when him and Kaito Kiyomiya almost killed each other in the G1 last year. You know what I mean? It's that amount. I don't believe any time when I've seen, even with Shingo here, who's very professional, I don't believe that these people do not seriously get a little bit angry at Gabe. To bring out that side, if you see what I'm trying to say.
I was going to say that, like the strong style, and yes, it's about hitting them hard. But when you start believing they actually want to hurt each other, that's when you've kind of, and
nobody does it better than Gabe to me. Like he really gets it, in my opinion. Like he makes me feel like he hates whoever he's fighting, and whoever he's fighting has to match that energy.
And he can continue a feud with Shingo and a feud with Eddie Kingston at the same time because, like I said, he's got all the hate in the world, And again, I don't think I've got it written down anywhere, but like the promotional stuff or local news when he's on there talking about New Japan events and kind of just dissing everybody else. Like Gabe
everybody
doesn't give a fuck, and I love that in a wrestler.
Very outspoken really about Tony Khan too, like saying what a lot of other people just probably can't believe he said it. Does not care.
No, we've got Nick Nemeth versus David Finlay for the Global Championship. We've got a new champion, the Overkill Connected. Well, it was nice whilst it lasted, I suppose. The question is, can Finn keep the momentum? Just beating Tsuji, just beating Nemeth. And again, we talked about Nemeth. It was all right, like that was it.
Yeah, it was good, but I think it's one of the things that even with the Moxley situation, we kind of hinted at. It's just, I don't think this was the time for it. I just don't, like, again, it's the same thing with Impact in the past. We talked about it. You get this new guy that we know was famous from WWE. You hand him the belt. There's no plan other than we got this guy. We think he has name and star power. He's going to bring certain eyeballs. They even try to do it with Riddle, but they kind of realized really fast that people didn't care about that. And, with Tanahashi's injury or whatever, they was like, we can't do it. So let's just get it back to Zach. So the same thing here with Finlay. In my opinion, Finlay could have kept the belt the entire time because he needed it more than what we ended up getting out of Nick, if you ask me. Just because Finlay, like you mentioned, without it, was kind of feeling like he was taking the back seat to even Driller, or back seat to, he already kind of felt like as a character he's behind Gabe. So without a championship or without feeling like the leader, it just kind of, in my opinion, was just tough timing, especially when we don't have every big show or every show world champion.
And I think this is the thing as well. When you've got Gabe growing like that and Finn's going, oh, shit, maybe, I have taken a back step. So it'd be interesting to see kind of what they do. There's no doubt, like Finlay, the way he's been positioned this past, year or so, they definitely look at him as a guy to carry the ball. Unless, like you said, WWE come in and go, right, we want you to come in and team with Brogan, wherever that is. But it'd be interesting to see. John Moxley defended the IWGP World title for the first time against Ren Narita. same old torture, always cheating. But it was Moxley who did beat Narita. I mean, what are your thoughts, Monty? This was the same old stuff, you know. He just ticked things off, outside interference, Moxley bleeding, you know, that type of thing.
Yeah, man. It just, again, solid stuff, but you just couldn't tell me that you couldn't have an established superstar. This is my problem. This is why a lot of to me, this is the roughest patch. And North, again, this ain't got nothing to do with Moxley. I think he's great, one of the greatest of all time. He's established that with his runs outside of WWE. His run in WWE was way better than anybody probably could imagine, too, if you just think about maybe what you thought you knew about a group. Because I always say this, at the beginning, I always knew Self was going to probably be protected, and we knew that Roman was the guy. Then you get Moxley, and he ended up being just as big or just as important as the other two, too. That just doesn't happen in groups. And so I always give Moxley his credit for being one of the greatest. But like you mentioned here, man, it was cool. That I didn't mind seeing it. Again, it's always nice to see Moxley actually not only be present, but just I didn't mind him going through Ren Narita because it just kind of was one of those measuring stick things. But when you think about what we were on track for with Tsuji and Naito, you can't tell me that this didn't reek. This reeked to me of a situation where we're like, let's give it to Moxley, and this is gonna get a lot of attention, and let's do it. And then we're gonna go back to following the same plan, other than the fact that we're gonna get Moxley and Shota for it down the line instead of Naito and Shota. We can get Naito and Shota later, I guess, or whatever. But you see what I'm saying? Like you can put Naito in this same spot against Ren Narita and have Ren Narita try to prove that he can hang with Naito. And you see what I'm saying? Like you can't tell me you can't insert the other guy.
Not only that, but again, people watching Moxley versus Ren Narita might go, if you're from an AEW perspective, go like, well, why would Moxley beat a guy that was kind of on a couple of Dynamites a couple of years ago? And again, this is the issue where, you know, the people that he's going against with interpromotional problems and, you know, whatever it is, politics, you don't want to put like a massive guy against him. So again, it's like the young guns, but the story would be better if it was with Naito. And again, with Moxley, it's not a bash on him. It's great that he's here and wants to try it. But again, it's just that kind of thing is...
I couldn't help myself from thinking that.
Missing out. Oh, no, right now. Resurgence, pre-show. I was just surprised, actually. Mustafa Ali defeated Leo Rush on the pre-show. And I'm going, on the pre-show? Like, did they both have an agreement to leave early? Like, why wasn't that on the main card?
Good point.
And again, a bit like, I mean, Resurgence, I'm not having a go, but it just felt like a bit like a show that was there, really. You know, we had House of Torture defeating Chaos, West Coast Wrecking Crew defeating Dirty Work, which is Fred Rosser and Tom Lawyer. They cannot catch a break. Gritters of Destiny did defeat TMDK for the strong openweight titles, so they're still there at the moment. Stephanie Baker defeated Alex Windsor. We see Naito and Tsuji defeating Finlay and Kenta. Zack Sabre Jr. defeating Tanahashi. Jeff Cobb defeating Lance Archer, which wasn't too bad. And Shingo defeating Yuri Uemura. But I think where the show really turned up, Monty, I think it'd be fair to say, is the no-rope last man standing match. A match filled with hatred, blood, a chain, barbed wire chair, ring rope hooks, and a ladder. This was absolutely crazy. Kid won with a brutal suplex through a table, which sent Kingston into the barricade and broke his leg. I think he's going to be out until July 2025. I don't know what I'm laughing for. Horrible injury. The Bucks came out and ambushed Kingston afterwards, but at that point, it was job done. But Gabe here, man, looked like a true star.
Yeah, man, this was special. I think, honestly, coming like you mentioned, it did kind of just feel like one of those shows that they just kind of, not say they threw it together, but you know, it just didn't feel like it meant a lot. But when we got past, like even Zack and Tanahashi, I enjoyed that. But like once we got going with the Archer match, and then like you said, Shingo, Uemura was sweet. But then we get to Gabe and Eddie, and just the way they kind of just went at it, man. Again, we talked about it with his match with Shingo. This was really, really cool, in my opinion. I did see some people not really into it, the actual work of it. But honestly, in my opinion, I think this was all about their characters and just them brawling it out. Gabe Kidd, like you said, really sold it, really showed a lot of just what makes him special here. And it's just that energy, man. It's just like you said, the rawness of it. And then you add the element of the no ropes. You add the element of just the stipulation and just how it was last man standing. It was really, really beautiful, man. It was a really strong match. This is another thing, and I didn't think about this, but I also see a lot of the people who argue for the partnership. They talk about what Eddie has been able to do, and I'm just like, I love it, but you can't convince me that Tony Khan don't give us Eddie because he wants to avoid booking it because he wasn't ever booking Eddie consistently or the right way anyway. People always gave him shit about it. I think it's a blessing that he's able to give New Japan Eddie. And I'm pretty sure Eddie probably begs to go when he doesn't have anything to do. But yeah, man, that injury, man, it was really tough to think about that, man. Like you said, I kind of felt bad. I felt bad because with the Bucks, I was like, why y'all kicking this man while he died? Like y'all could have scrapped the beat up. I know it was good to see the Bucks on a New Japan type card or whatever. I know people were happy to see him, but I was just like that. Y'all could have scrapped it, just gave a promo or something or whatever. I don't know. Then you did not have to come out there because that looked like he was already just out. It was
talking
over.
About kicking a man when he's down, like
literally, man, literally. But I guess again, good heat, I guess, for their character. But yeah, man, this was just two badasses beating the hell out of each other, bro. So it was cool. It was really cool. It was just unfortunate that the injury happened, but other than that, some of the best stuff that New Japan have done all year, right there.
Yeah, without doubt. And then main event, IWGP World Heavyweight Title, John Moxley defeating Shooter Umino. Evo Rennerita once again attacked the champion this time around. Evil with spray paint and deface the world title. Yay! We're getting Evil versus Moxley.
That's what we wanted, right?
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. I felt sorry for a lot of people thinking it was going to be Shooter's moment. Because again, like we talk about Rennerita, it just wasn't his time.
Yeah. And I was disappointed in not so much in the match. I thought they worked well. But it's just like with all the story, and like you said, everybody kind of hyping it up. I had a lot of my friends who watch New Japan telling me that it's okay, Monty. I know you felt bad about Naito, but this is what it was all for. Shota going to rise, and he's going to main event against your boy next year or whatever. And I'm just like, oh, sure, okay. Like I never really bought it personally because it's just, if this was at Forbidden Door, maybe you could have convinced me. But no, I just didn't really buy it here at Resurgence, not just because it was a strong show, but like you mentioned, I think overall the narrative about most of the Musketeers, even with you and more, because I'm not trying to shit on the KLPW, but I don't think KLPW is what they're thinking when they name him a Four Musketeer. They don't name you one of the Four Musketeers because they say you're going to be the greatest KLPW champion. Like, no, they don't think about that. But I'm with you. Yeah, right. Come on, man. It's a lemon. What is a lemon tasting thing? Like, yeah, okay, yeah. Musketeer. But yeah, no. Again, the match itself was good. I wasn't disappointed in the match, and I did get a kick out of laughing at all of my dumb friends who told me that this was Schultz's moment because I'm like you. I was just like, yeah, I'm not convinced, but. I also got a kick out of it that when I saw Evil come out there because I knew Evil would, but I started to kind of poke at all the Moxley people because I'm just like, oh yeah, House of Torture beating your boy. How would you love that? Like it was people who were talking about they would unsubscribe if Evil beat Moxley.
And the thing is for Evil is like he can't go a month without spray painting a title belt, can he? You know what I mean?
I don't know I don't know if he's been watching old WCW or whatever, but yeah, that's his new shtick.
He's in it. Right, so the Best of Super Juniors 2024. Don't worry, everybody.
Good time.
I've watched everything from Best of Super Juniors, so I will do that in a review. We're going to talk about the group blocks, and the finals of the tournament will take place at Dominion on June 9th, which was a change to traditional schedule. I'll talk to you about that in a moment, Monty. But we had A block, which was El Desperado, Kevin Knight, Bushi, Titan, TJP, Fujita, Blake Christian, Clark Connors, Kalamura, and Hayata, if I'm pronouncing that right. B block, Kasija, Kushida, I can say his name, Kushida, Takahashi, Doki, Akira, Eagles, Ishimori, Maloney Show, Dragon Dia, and Ninja Mac. Now, again, Monty, this was big deal because, like I said, Dominion was going to be the final, but there was a couple in here, Dragon Dia and Ninja Mac. I was just like, who the fuck? I mean, what were your thoughts on the lineup and the announcement the final would be at Dominion?
And you might get a chuckle. And this is one of those moments where I'm like, as a demigod, I have to just kind of be like, did the New Japan gods even got one on me? I heard of the name Ninja Mac. I've watched some of his stuff, but I wasn't like a big. He was just a guy I've heard of. So this was a lot. He kind of opened my eyes up to his style a little bit more. I just kind of seen spots. I don't like judging a guy off just the fact that I seen him do a couple of high spots or whatever. But that's pretty much all I really knew about Ninja Mac coming into this, is that I seen him do some cool stuff before. I don't know if he's a good wrestler, but let's see how this goes. But so it was a good proving ground for some of these newer faces. I definitely came into it just like this is one of those years for the first time in a long time that if it's not Ishimori, if it's not Despy, if it's not some of the guys like Akira, which I was still bummed out about because I think at the beginning of the year, I thought this would be a good year for him or Akira or Doki. I thought this would be one of those years. They still had a chance, but as the tournament went on, as we saw, we definitely had still a little bit of a leaning on a lot of the favorites that we know and love, which I don't complain, especially about this. But yeah, this was I didn't mind the field, but I'm with you. It was definitely some names that even threw me like, who is this guy? So I was just like, all right, I guess I'll see what he got.
Yeah, I will say Ninja Mac did impress me, but again, it's
Ninja Mac is pretty good.
I had to, like I said, a couple of thoughts before the tournament, but with your experience here, to bring it back to demigod status, of course, you kind of know which way it's going to shake. So most of my picks didn't get near. But the semi-finals, though, it was very, very interesting as we got to the final B block matches as Taiji Ishimori and Doki advanced to the semi-finals. Doki entered the show with 10 points and needed to beat Robbie Eagles to stay alive, while also requiring Ishimori victory in the main event. Doki beat Eagles, which again, Robbie Eagles, great, but still not sure about him.
I don't think they are either. He's been damn good for a while in the ring, and he just never.
He's like, I like TMDK, and
it's never the guy.
I just don't know if you're the guy. I don't know.
He was the same way in Chaos, though. He was the same way. Like, hey, I love Chaos. No, as a matter of fact, this is a thing that don't help him. He was in Bullet Club. It was like, hey. And he's like, okay, bye-bye. He goes to Chaos. Hey.
Well,
okay, bye-bye. And then
LIJ
here we go again. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. United Empire.
Naito's just like, I know you're not going to turn on me. So you're just going to be like, hey, we're right. Yeah.
What's up, Robbie?
The main event, Ishimori defeated Takahashi to end the round robin with 14 points. Ishimori used Takahashi's time bomb for the big near fall using the bloody cross.
Yeah, this was so awesome.
Win. June 3rd, the semi-finals, Ishimori defeated TJP in the semi-final match. I was quite surprised with this. Ishimori finished 7-2 in round robin action. TJP was 5-4, and we've got a tiebreaker. But again, they've not done a lot. The Greater Khan feud, and then nothing. And then you think in the story with TJP and going, I want to be the new leader. And then it's like, no, Ishimori, get the win. And again, it's not off booking the last year. It's the past
history.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's the history, and I'm with you. And I think that's why sometimes it's so hard in New Japan for you to ever like. That's why again, it's like even when Shota Umino is primed to be the guy, it's like I don't know if I'm gonna be when it's time. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make the right call and be like, all right, do it. Because New Japan sometimes, like I mentioned with Naito, they probably did it 4 years. 4 years too late for Naito, giving him the run reins. And like you make the argument, he still hasn't been able to run with it completely, And so it's just kind of funny how that works. They love leaning back. It's the reason why Tanahashi immediately was a champion again, even after his injury and all that. Because again, they will give a established name a prominent position before they ever just crown someone who possibly could build. Like you mentioned, if this was American wrestling, TJP is going to be in this final because, like you said, that's what makes sense narratively or what we've been pushing on our product. But Taiji Ishimura is one of the best juniors in the world. And that don't change. And I think he showed it in this match. And I think sometimes you kind of got to go off what's going on in the matches too. And like Taiji was on a hot streak. You know, he had been doing great. And I think that's kind of like what they leaned on. But I'm with you. It was really, really surprising that he was able to pick that up, even though I understand that Taiji is literally one of the best juniors in Japan's history, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say
Noah and New Japan.
I'm going to say something quite shocking here as well, because I know everybody likes Despy, and especially he wouldn't get his own pay-per-view if he wasn't a huge
he's
star
a bad man,
in New Japan. But I prefer Doki. Not going to lie. It's just sank at the moment. So I was disappointed in the semi-final when, of course, Desperado did defeat Doki.
Beat his little brother.
Ishimori stormed to the ring, glared at him. El Desperado got the mic and vowed he was going to win the tournament. But again, Monty, this is a story of Despy becoming close before, but never being like the guy. So again,
and again, I can make the argument. 3 years, he had a match with his mask ripped off. I think 2 or 3 years, a death match style match, and he took his mask off. And like ever since then, Despy's been like one of the most popular wrestlers in that company. So I can make the case that it's been like 3 years late that they should have been running with Despy on top. As much as I love Hiromu, but again, Hiromu got injured. They felt like they kind of owed him a lengthy run. You know what I'm saying? So like it's one of those situations where it's tough, you know. But I'm with you, man. Despy, this is his time. I think this is what this is all about. But I also can make the argument, as much as I don't mind the Psychopath show, Despy shouldn't have never lost the belt in the first place. I can just make that argument. He should have been running with
Show has been a fantastic champion. Like I will defend that. Like Show has been one of the bonuses of watching New Japan this year. So we get to Dominion, June 9th. Tetsuya Naito. One of the things I love about Naito is not the fact that I say Naito and other people pronounce him Naito and stuff like this. That's another thing I love about him. But the fact that in a match, right, it's not just like, oh, does the guy do well or not? It's like, well, Naito did have his T-shirt off and used Destino to win. So that means Newman.
So that means Newman is good.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? I fucking love that, though, man. I fucking love it.
Yeah, man. Us Naito fans were hot, though, because we like, this man was the champion, and now he's leading the fucking show against Pale Osprey, I guess is what, you know, whatever you want to call Callum Newman. Which again, I don't mind Newman. I think he's cool, but you're 100% right. That's what this was all about. The fact that Naito had to remove the shirt, take this kid seriously, do his finish, means that Newman is a made man now, and he's someone that you have to watch going into the G1. That's pretty, like you said, for him to have that effect in like a 10-minute match is really, really cool. So yeah, man, that's he's the definition of cool, man. Like that's the reason why he's been the most popular guy, even sometimes outselling Okada in merch because of that popularity. Because nobody is cooler than Naito, and that's why.
The booking as well is like at the moment like kind of fuck you. Not if it was WWE or AEW, they're doing this on purpose. Like if they are, it's a kind of, it's a funny move. I'm not gonna lie, you know.
No, it ties back to his history, like we mentioned. A lot of people ran to Naito's side because of the fact that as a guy, he was at first the fans didn't want to choose him, but then after seeing the company shit on him in multiple ways, the people started to love him, and he still gets shitted on now. So he's the most popular guy in the company and still gets shitted on. So that's just his stick at this point, you know?
Yeah, it is funny. Anyway, moving on. TMDK, Vegeta, Eagles, as that same Junior defeated Bullet Club, Bulldogs, Clark Connors, Judah Maloney, and LJ Clearly. All right. Zach got the win for his team. New Japan King of Pro Wrestling title, Storm Catch Rules match. Greater Khan defeated Uemura. It featured a two rope break, ring escape limit, in the 15-minute time limit. It was boring, man. Like, bring back.
I knew it. I knew it. I was about to say you were jumping for joy when Okan was back. You finally
pleased.
Get the weird stipulations back.
Our hero, great Okan. Next New Japan catch-up, Monty, we're getting eating contests back.
Finally, hot dogs, something, burgers. Who knows?
We can do that in America one, isn't it? Do the hot dog eating contest in America.
Do the American style.
Strong show. We see never open weight 6-man titles. Bushi, Takahashi, and Yota Tsuji defeating Tanahashi, Olubotan, and Toru Yano. This was a surprise, with Tsuji putting Tanahashi down. Of course, this is Tsuji's first time winning the title. It wouldn't matter in the long run, but at the time, Monty, this was a nice moment.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, don't think about it too hard, but definitely a cool moment. Definitely a cool moment, man. Anytime you get a victory over Tanahashi, especially a title victory, especially with the pressure of being a musketeer, honestly, now the spotlight was on the people who haven't been able to get it done, Now, and even if it is a 6-man spotlight, Tsuji getting it done like that, it was still awesome from that perspective, in my opinion.
Yeah, without a doubt. Jeff Cobb defeated Tomohiro Ishii, World Television title on the line. Again,
that shit was fun.
This is what I'm saying. Ishii still got it, man. And to see Cobb hit the tour of the islands is still an impressive feat. Like, I don't care. I mean, don't get me wrong. Jeff Cobb might have the Joe Coffey issue of maybe not being as tall as maybe we think. But this is still.
I think that's the only reason WWE don't call Jeff. That has to be the only reason WWE or any of these. No,
they call him promotions. When they don't go forward after the meeting.
Right? Yeah. That's fair. They call him in, and then he comes to the performance center, and they're like,
actually, Regal's busy.
Like, imagine him standing face to face with Obafemi.
Oh my! Do you know what I mean? Like, Obafemi is just, again, it's not talking about Obafemi. We did
let's leave it alone. Let's leave
it alone. Man. IWGP Tag Team Title, strong openweight Tag Team Title, 4-way elimination Tornado match. TMDK defeated Bullet Club, Chase Owens and Kenta, Gorillas of Destiny, and Bishamon. We see Hikuleu getting hit with a tank buster and pinned with the first elimination. Bishamon were able to hit Shoto, eliminating Bullet Club. And then for the first time in their careers, TMDK are IWGP champions. I mean, and again, Shane Taylor, for me, has been fantastic recently. I mean, Mikey Nichols might be coming towards the end, might be fair to say, but they deserve this moment.
Yeah, man. Shane is so great, man. He's great. He's just like, oh my goodness, the promos, and I don't know if this has been resolved, and I just didn't see, but like Shane's contract is up. Like, I hope New Japan opened up that pocketbook or something. I saw T-Bar or Dijak saying, maybe WWE need to call Slapjack back, which is hilarious to me. But yeah, man, I love it. I love Shane. He's awesome. He's and like you said, him and Mikey make a good team. Like, Mikey is a good, like, I think in comedy you got like the straight man, and then you have the I think that's why they work perfectly, in my opinion, because he's that way, and just Shane is just awesome, and like they work well as a team. This was really good, man. This is top level stuff. Even if the match probably didn't need everybody in it, I didn't mind it, because I guess this is kind of like, all right, you see, this is the entire tag division pretty much here. Exactly.
This is what we got. We don't know who's going to be here tomorrow, but
do your best. Right.
Like you said, though, really good stuff. And again, you just give me an idea. If Dijak wants to leave WWE, why don't you join TMDK? That would be fucking
awesome, man. Oh my goodness.
Speaking of awesome, never open
him versus Gabe Kidd.
Don't know. Well, we're getting Shingo versus Hinare, we talk about, and yes, it ended.
Let's
in a
go.
draw, but like
double knockout.
You wonder how they could do a double draw, and it's just like, oh yeah, that worked. That's
perfect, right? If you're gonna do it this way. If you're gonna do it this way. Man, did they beat the hell out of each other. I thought they had a great match last year, but like, man, And this is just beautiful. This is beautiful stuff, man. Just like you said, for something that ended in a draw. Usually, as wrestling fans, we're all bummed out when we get a draw, but not this time, man. This was
The thing
some
is,
good
as well,
stuff.
is Shingo checking if the skull can be fractured. You know what I mean? Like, is it really repaired? Is your neck on properly?
You
like,
okay?
Honest to goodness. And then we had to, we enjoyed the World Heavyweight title lumberjack match. John Moxley defeating Evil. Evil does not like the owner. Just going to go out on a limb and say that Mox got a main event reaction, and he hit Evil with a cutter, curb stomp, and a Death Rider on the bat to win the match and retain his belt. One of the things I loved as well, Monty, was the Japanese crowd chanting, "We want tables" after the table spot. Just fucking polite, and just they knew they had to chant it. It was funny. It's just like fair fucking play. Afterwards, Moxley cut a promo, opened the door for his next challenger, and it was fucking Tetsuya Naito walking out the back and challenging Moxley for the Forbidden Door. Monty, next week, it could be over. But what are your thoughts?
Oh, it better be
on that main event?
The Forbidden Door review is going to be great podcast material. If it's not, that's what I will tell you right now.
We got Drew next week, and then you doing Forbidden Door the following.
Right, we got Drew, and then we got Forbidden. Like, man, if Naito don't put an end to this, oh my goodness, I don't even want to spoil it, but I got a plan. I might physically. I don't know how to even do this because we don't do this with a video. But I will unsubscribe. I will send screenshots of me unsubscribing to New Japan World. But anyway, on to the next one. I will say this one thing. Also says everything you need to know about Evil standing is this is an IW World title match that did not main event. It's just simple as that. Even though I understand this was a best of the Super Junior type situation, and they definitely deserve the spotlight. But I'm just saying, when Okada was there and when Tanahashi was on top, this wasn't happening. But hey, lumberjack match, I thought it was fun. I actually thought this was good Evil. I thought Moxley got good Evil. I don't know if he talked to Evil before the match or whatever. It was like, hey, I watched some of your 2017 matches. You actually can work. Hey, could you actually do a little bit of that in this 20 minutes, 25 minutes we have, man? So yeah, this is good. This is good stuff. Even though, like you mentioned, with the barbed wire back and all that, I kind of expected more shenanigans. But we got entertaining stuff overall, so I can't complain. Yeah. And Naito being next is what I needed.
Without a doubt. But I'm about to say, even the third generation wrestlers, all the old guys, as we'd call them, to come out and still have that moment on a lumberjack.
Oh, that was awesome.
Very good stuff. And then the main event, Best of Super Junior 31 final, El Desperado defeated Ishimori. He finally done it. The Pincha Loca. And won the Best of Super Junior 31. After the match, Show came to face the winner. It's a bit back and forth. Desperado challenge Show to make the title bout a steel cage match. Now, Monty, again, Desperado winning probably means more to you than it does me. Would that be fair? I mean, I can appreciate the run anyway. Don't get me wrong, but I was Team Doki.
Yeah, no, and even me, I understand that. I don't blame you at all. I just kind of understand the big brother type relationship Doki and Despy had, and Doki's time will come. Hopefully, Doki is the one. If you're not going to give it to Akira, or you know what I mean, and if we're moving off the Show and Yo situation, depending on how they decide to come back to that eventually. Hopefully Doki is the one who eventually gets past that torch next from Despy, because I understand that. I think that it's just a testament to how hard he's worked. But I think in a similar vein, Desperado has worked his ass off and has been kind of the second guy behind Hiromu for so long. But even though he's kind of earned just as much, if not more, like you mentioned, he has his own pay-per-view pretty much. You know what I mean? He's went outside of New Japan, had people thinking he was a freelancer because he was going out and doing death matches and just giving the Japanese people so much of himself. And it's so much mystery too. It's not like Despy is one of those guys you can Google and find out a whole lot about. He is legitimately his character, and like he has that mystique about him. People don't even know his original origins in Japan. Like like he's so awesome from a character standpoint. Also, I think this was just a culmination of that. And then Taiji Ishimori, if you're not going to take out Hiromu, we know he did. He already took out Hiromu in Wrestle Kingdom. Taiji Ishimori is right there as an established champion level junior heavyweight that you can take out. And they actually had a really good match too. So I can't complain, man. Desperado is always one of those guys I don't mind being on top. But I'm with you. I thought, again, it depends. New Japan has not been really clear on what's going on. It's a lot of next generation talk from a lot of the newer faces, but I don't know if management agrees that it's time for the next generation. And I think that's the thing.
The thing is, my only issue, right, again, with New Japan, and again, maybe they're not wanting to do this, but it'd be great if they did have, like, I know they do video packages and stuff, but kind of explain maybe the history more of, like you said, Despy and the journey there. And again,
with the New Japan World, it's gotten harder to kind of go back. That's the one thing, too, I don't like.
The thing is, just let the people who are trying to... Because I always remember Stan Lee saying this about comic books, you know. It doesn't matter the story. I've always done it with podcasts. It's always going to be someone's first copy they pick up. You know, whatever episode, of, even if it's Raw, SmackDown, New Japan, there's always going to be a first event. You're not going to know everything. So, again, to kind of just be told these little... That's why I'm pleased I got you. You know, like
right.
You kind of let me know, and I got the questions. You kind of, you know... But again, apart from that, it's great to see Despy, you know, his journey. And like you said, the Despy Open, which was its own pay-per-view, you know, which I've not covered yet. I'll probably end that on with the Strong. But we've only got a couple of shows left. Well, one proper show to review. The other one was June 15th with Naito beating Jake Lee on the All Together show. This wasn't on New Japan World. But again, Naito now, and they're like... Okay, let's fix it. You know, let's fix this shit.
Yeah, finally. And as a Naito fan, I just want to be honest. Like this was really tough because it's not that he lost. I've been a next to Naito long enough at this point to understand that losing sometimes is all a part of the story, especially when it comes to Naito. Like when he lost to Zack and put over Zack, and you know, it's unfortunate he got injured in one of those big matches he would have with Zack, but I really do feel like Zack benefited overall from those matches. Same thing with Okada and even Tanahashi. You can't tell me that Ospreay in the past, you can't tell me other guys don't benefit. So I get it. But the problem is that this one is, not only do I not think Moxley needed it, I also just don't understand if you're going off everything they did with Naito from that point on, that you cannot tell me coming into that they had a plan for Naito, because everything he's done since just feels like, all right, let's buy some time to Forbidden Door so you can get your belt back. You can't tell me otherwise. That's just what it feels like. And I just, again, the way he's been utilized, when to me this is the only time in New Japan's history now, with Tanahashi's current standing and everything else that's going on in the company, there's nobody else who is New Japan Pro Wrestling more than Naito. Without Okada, without Ospreay, it ain't nobody even remotely close. You hear when the crowd, whenever the crowd, you know what I mean? You can tell. There's nobody else like him.
He's the number one. Yeah, there's no doubt.
So it's so frustrating to have him dealing with Jake Lee and doing all of this other stuff that just felt like filler, so we can get to the next level. That was the most frustrating thing about this entire run that we've been on the last few months, and I kind of just had to get that off my chest.
No, without doubt. But again, it's even up with the last show that we're going to follow now, the June 16th. Like, we caught up with it, and you know what? We actually done good time. I'm not too bad. But again, Naito teaming up with Titan, taking on Yuri Uemura and Taka Michinoku. And again, it's just like a throwaway tag match. And again, I know world champions usually have tag match and road 2 shows, but Moxley not being involved.
Exactly.
Like,
no,
it's like Naito just going like, I'm just waiting for Forbidden Door. Like you said, it's not.
And I know AEW, you know? We might get a video package, but most likely we're gonna get an appearance on the week of Forbidden Door, possibly wherever they are. He's gonna stare down or do something with some minimal, and then we have the match. You know what I'm saying? So the
Yeah.
entire world title picture, one of the biggest matches or biggest rivalries in your company for your biggest star, is just nothing. But let's have our match back together. And
But
Naito has no interest in AEW either.
will it main event Forbidden Door? And if it
Hell
doesn't,
no.
is there a chance that Moxley will win then? Do you know what I mean? If it's not...
Yeah, that's a good point. I would love it to, but if you look at what this show has been built around, it's been built around Mercedes, it's been built around Swerve and Ospreay. Those are the main so far attractions, if you ask me, as far as like what they're building towards. Is the blood and guts match happening at Forbidden Door? I don't think so, right? Or
no,
is
I
that
think it's happening afterwards? Yeah, so
right? So that's not even at Forbidden Door. So it's like,
because at the moment
I don't think Naito is main.
No, they've got Naito, Moxley, Shingo, Danielson.
That would be great.
But again, you kind of know which way it's going to go. Yeah,
true.
But apart from that, I don't think there's anything like truly New Japan versus AEW. I might be wrong. Again, I'll re-look at the crowd, but there's not.
And they like to add things, but we don't exactly.
Yeah. Oh, Zack Sabre Jr. and Orange Cassidy.
But
when Zack's booked against OC, I panic.
That's the one thing I'm hoping that we know that a New Japan should win. Like I love Orange Cassidy, but with everything Orange has going on, he better not be. That's another one. I'm like, Naito winning and Zack winning. You better protect my top stars, AEW. That's all I ask. Do whatever you want, but protect Ospreay. I mean, protect Zack Sabre Jr. and protect Naito. That's all I need. But I'm with you. It does make you wonder, like, if they're not going last, and you give Naito his moment, even though it's an AEW card, and have him standing tall, it just makes you wonder. But I don't see them going last with a lot of the TV time they gave Swerve and Ospreay. I don't want to put
negative thoughts. Yeah, I don't want to give you negative thoughts, all right? Positive thoughts.
Please, don't do it.
We go back to the Soul Show. Never Openweight 6-man tag team match. Tanahashi, Alec Bolton, Toriano defeated Los Ingobernables. And ever since you mentioned it, I can't help noticing it was Bushi pinned again in the middle of the ring.
Poor Bushi, man.
The IW Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles, Bullet Club War Dogs, Clark Collins, Jenna Maloney defeated Vegeta and Robbie Eagles. We got the announcement of the G1 Climax. A block is Naito, Umino, Shingo, Sanada, Greater Khan, Zack Sabre Jr., Gabe Kidd, Evil, and fucking Jake Lee again. With B block, Gotu, ELP, Suji, Cobb, Hanari, Finley, Narita, Yamura, and Takeshita, who of course is AEW and DDT. Really cool. We've got a couple of qualifier tournaments as well. Ishii, Yoshihashi, Callum Newman, Kenta, or Takahashi, and then Tanahashi, Yano, Bolton, Kojima, Tai Chi, and TJP. Monty, I want to get your thoughts. And again, it's weird because Tai Chi was probably one of the guys I was really huge fan of maybe a year ago or so, and it just seems, I don't know if it's injuries or just booking, but he's going to have to try and qualify for this. But anyway, forget about my random thoughts. What are your thoughts on the G1?
I'm with you. That's a great point. It's just really frustrating from that point of view for Tai Chi. It's frustrating for me from Five Guys in general, honestly. I know Sonata was such a focus. Like, think about what you think about Five Guys now, just based on what they felt like watching them last year and everything they had going on. They just took a complete backseat. Sonata was one of the guys who came out and was really critical of New Japan's booking of the World Championship and just not having anything really to attain for. So I think that, to shoot for, and I think that's a very valid argument. Suji said similar things. You know what I mean? Just a lot of the guys, even even Shota Umino, and I thought maybe most of that was his just angle with Moxley. Maybe he was just talking about the way the company was booking that and AEW was doing that was distasteful. I thought that was just more so just stuff with Moxley, with him coming out and saying stuff like that. But still one of those situations that make you think, you know what I mean? Is this angle stuff or is this a little bit of the truth coming out too? Because even he can see that this is just not the title picture has kind of left them a goalless, a big chunk of the roster, if you ask me, if they're not shooting for other things. But yeah, man, It's really tough. I don't mind the qualification. I think that's a nice little twist. So, especially when you have TJP and Oleg getting the opportunity, of course, with Newman, so I would be surprised if we don't get maybe a new name in there. But it's really, really tough. It's really, really tough. I don't really know. It's kind of funny that Tanahashi's there, but I think at this point, if you look at the way his year has went from a singles perspective, this is where he belongs. So it'll be interesting to see how it turns out. But the blocks, I'm happy to see Takeshita there. It'll be cool. DDT does not work with don't really work with New Japan as much as they used to. So it's been kind of cool to see that. But I think, like we mentioned, with Noah's involvement, New Japan has kind of just been kind of working with a lot of people in Japan. So that's kind of cool. But it'll be interesting to see how things go. I think the G1 this year should be fun. I don't know if we're doing favorites, but I don't know who your favorite is. I know who I would like to see on top. I would like to see, obviously, Naito winning the title and see Zack Sabre Jr. pull this off.
Yeah,
I think he's by far someone who should be considered. I think also a glaring omission from qualifying and the tournament is Hikuleo. I think that's pretty much confirming something is going on there because, like we talked about, he had a big year last year in the G1, and the fact that he's not here probably sends the message that something else is going on there with El Phantasmo. I kind of feel bad for El Phantasmo because his little faction, he's the only one left, right? Just him and Jado at this point. If Hikuleo is gone, so that sucks. But
it's the gorilla of destiny.
Yeah, he's just a gorilla of destiny by himself. So we'll see how this turns out. But yeah, man. I don't know. All I know is that Zach is by far one of my favorites, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that. And Takeshita versus Shingo.
Yes,
Come on,
that's
man.
Just going to be money. But again, we talk about Zach being maybe the obvious option here. But again, I'm not going to rule out Tsuji because again, that story. I know you won the New Japan Cup.
True.
And I know you don't normally win both.
Yeah, you don't usually do both. But hey, history though. It could be a chance to make history.
Yeah, I mean that's the only real story there that I see. And I love the fact TJP said to Callum Newman, "You're going to be in the G1 in qualifying." Just he didn't finish his sentence. He's like, "You're going to be in the G1 qualifying." Never open weight title match. Henare defeated Shingo.
Finally.
My fucking God, he got the job done. I mean, this helps, Monty, when you fracture your skull and then he bleed out of the match, I suppose. Like they kind of do this. But again, Henare with a leaping headbutt, and you think to yourself, surely, son, you should be more careful. But again, Henare holds gold for the first time in his career. And again, it's a different man. When we talked about Henare before, Monty, I was like, I'm not sure. But again, face tattoo and a fractured skull, and who knows?
Right? It's insane. And again, as somebody who's been here from the very beginning, when he used to have used to do his gimmick, and he lost a lot because he was a young lion, and also he was in Hantai. So for some reason, he just kind of seemed directionless. The United Empire gave him that, but he still kind of, like you said, was still adding things. And then he comes back with the look. He continues to just fleshing out his style more, become more well-rounded, but also stick to that physicality that he's known for, and just kind of carve out a niche for himself and stick out, like you said, from a look perspective and just from everything. He feels completely different from anything else in wrestling too. And I think that's something that's really helping him, and I think him finally getting over the hump, finally winning a title, and it be the strong title, the strong open weight title, one of those belts that's just known for smash mouth, strong style wrestling. I mentioned that a couple of times when we had a guy like Shingo. When you have even Gabe Kidd with his version of the belt, it's just one of those belts. I said strong, but I meant never early. But they have a similar lineage around them when it comes to just being physical and being strong style defined. And I think just an awesome moment for Henare. You're 100% right. When you go through everything he's went through and being able to just be one of those guys on top, and just again, he's worked his ass off to get where he is. I think all the Kiwis like Jay White and even Dakota Kai and all these other people who've known Honore a long time had to be proud to see him climb them ranks. And like Osprey too sent messages. Like it was really cool to see everybody just really happy for Honore too, because anybody who knows him knows that it's been a long, hard battle to establish himself in New Japan, and I think now he's finally gotten over that hump. So I'm excited to see what he can do as a champion now, and not always be the guy chasing. So he's earned it. He's earned it. I think that's the best part about it. He's earned it.
And like you said, with champions like Gabe and
him and Jeff Cobb, by the way.
They
deserve it.
There's a new kind of stronger champion at this moment. It seems to be coming through. Like it's kind of really, really good stuff. Speaking of champions, as well, global heavyweight title match. David Finlay defeated Sanada, and again, as you mentioned with Sanada as well. If you're David Finlay or Sanada, who would you rather be at the moment on the roster? Who's kind of going up, who's going down.
True.
It's interesting times, And then finally, IWGP Junior Heavyweight title, steel cage match, Show versus El Desperado. Desperado hit multiple chair strikes for throwing chairs at the House of Torture members trying to climb the cage. That was fucking hilarious. I'm not going to lie. I just loved it. It's like, even the commentary mentioned of like being ECW house show with the chairs coming in. And he's like, do you know what? Chairs are going fucking out. Show tried fighting back with a shock arrow, but Desperado reversed into a driver. He followed up with 2 pincher locos, winning the match and the Junior Championship. El Desperado is your new IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion. He did it. Show's reign is over. I'm devastated.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I give it to Show. Like even with the sticks that a lot of people don't like, and I'm glad it won you over, because again, I always made the argument that as much as House of Torture can be repetitive, I will never argue with anybody about about knowing what's happening. I will say that it's just always been one of those necessary evil type of things with their booking, and Show made it entertaining, even if, like I said, you could think of other guys who could benefit from being in this spot. Show did a really good job. He's always a guy that I thought could be a really good champion in the junior division. And hell, I even said, because he's so damn strong, and if he wanted to, he put on a couple, put on 30 pounds, he could move up if he wanted to, because he has that potential. But I didn't think he would do it in this way, but he is so damn entertaining. I'm really happy he's gotten the crazy element for working for himself too. And if he ever wanted to go back to the old Show he used to be, he could always do that too. He's well rounded, and I think that's one thing about this run it kind of showed me. But Despy, man, they Pinchy Loco, he's fucking crazy. As the name of the move and everything about him, he's just a badass. I love Despy, and this match was badass. They turned something that could have been a slog to get through into an entertaining contest, even with the shenanigans on the outside. The shenanigans added to it too, you know what I mean? Which is always a plus. So yeah, man, this was excellent. Excellent stuff. Right move coming off that Best of the Super Juniors, because again, you don't go through all of that grueling tournament style wrestling to come up short here. So this was great.
Without a doubt. And that is it, basically. That is it for New Japan and our catch up. We've done well to manage to catch up for the last few months. Like I said, our next one will be the G1 Climax, which we'll do in a couple of months' time. But gives us a bit of breathing space now, Monty, doesn't it? And again, I'm pleased because at least it's worthwhile talking about it. There's nothing worse than watching wrestling and not be able to review it, and we've done it. Yeah,
man, I think that it was good. Even as time went on and getting behind it, I was kind of confident that it would be still a good amount of stuff to talk about. Because New Japan just has a lot going on. There's a lot of change, a lot of upheaval, a lot of different things going on. Even for me, even as somebody who's been a loyal New Japan guy who considered this some of the best wrestling, if not the best wrestling in the world for a long time, I was even one of those guys who was like, do I even really need to keep watching this at times? So, but to kind of explain my angle on it, it's not because of the work, it's not because of any of the wrestlers or even some of the stuff that they were putting out there. It was more so just because I'm just not sure if I trust where we're heading right now. It just feels like we're heading towards a down period. So it's good to get here, like you said, and just at least talk about some of the angles that, talk about the positives and just like some of the things that can be concerning going forward. In New Japan, it reminds me of it reminds me of our times in NXT to an extent too, because we were there through some tough ones, and we were there. They kind of rebuilt themselves now to the point to where they're averaging just about the same amount or around where AEW has been at. So, you know what I mean? Or sometimes I think recently above it. So yeah,
I mean,
it's kind of cool to be on that ride, if you know what I mean.
That's what I'm saying. If you go by a track record low, it might be a bit of a low at the moment, but my God, they're going to have golden times soon. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I mean. It's kind of cool when I think about that. When you think about where we've been with NXT, we it was pandemic, some of that stuff we love, some of it we probably weren't as into. Then we went through 2.0, definitely went into it. Then we kind of built it up, and then we get to where they are now, and just some of the best, the high ratings, great stuff. And the same thing can be said with New Japan, with like how we love Wrestle Kingdom, love some of the moments. And then you also get into some of the decisions where you wonder, why are we doing this? Who is this guy? Oh my God, send Jake Lee back to Noah. I believe Jake Lee. Jake Lee is becoming our Japanese, he's Korean, I believe. Von Wagner.
We will miss Von Wagner. We're gonna have to create someone else. Yeah, but again,
we need somebody else to bully, I guess. Good overall though. I love doing this. Yeah. This is great.
No, it's great. And again, to have you here to make sure that as long as I've covered all the important points, do you know what I mean? But now try and get into it. And like you said, to watch it and think, is it worth it? Is it worth investing, a year of my life watching it week in, week out? And at the moment, it has been, and it's
and then I watch a man eat eel, and I'm like, you know what? I love
you. You know what? This is the greatest fucking wrestling promotion of all time. But again, just want to mention, whilst we're in Japan, finally, I should say, New Japan, of course, relationship with AEW, but I think the worrying thing might be WWE's working relationship with a lot of people as well, as we've seen with NXT. There was a major announcement for Noah and WWE as the genius of the arc. Noah Marufuji, I'm going to say, against AJ Styles.
Legend.
And not only that, but Io Sky versus, well, you're going to have to do that name. What about these two matches, Monty? I'm not even going to attempt it.
Yeah, man. Nomachi Marufuji, absolute legend. I think Will Ospreay before he left Japan, wanted to have a match with Marufuji. He was allowed to in Noah. He's just one of the greatest of all time, 4-time GHC heavyweight champion. And, him and AJ Styles, kind of in a similar age range, and kind of in that same range of legacy, too, if we're being honest. Just because, that's just like really the best way to explain it. We talk about AJ Styles and how he's like a TNA legend and what he did in New Japan and what he's done in WWE and like what he means to wrestling. Marufuji is kind of similar to that in Japan. He's awesome and one of the flag bearers of Noah. And I think it's just going to be incredible to watch two guys who may be in their 40s, but nowhere near the end of the road if you're just looking at the quality of what they still can do. And I think it's just going to be really, really special, really special. And I'm happy, so happy that much like when they let Shinsuke go over, we're allowed to still be able to see AJ do a similar thing and be able to fight a legend in Noah. And the same thing can be said with the Marigold relationship, Utami Hayashi Shita. So that's how you would say. I have to slow it down because it's tough. But yeah. We just say Utami to be safe because that's the safest way to do it. But yeah, she's awesome. She's 25 years old. One of the reasons why she started wrestling in Stardom was because of Io, and like she was kind of robbed of that opportunity to fight the legendary Io Shirai or Io Sky in Stardom. She was robbed of that because she was young. She was a rookie at the time when Io was taking off. So and went to NXT. She's 25 years old. She's a phenom. She is the ace of Marigold, the new promotion started by Rossi, the former guy who ran Stardom for so long and kind of gave Mayu Iwatani, Julia, some of the great names, even Io herself, and Kyrie, some of the great names that we know from Stardom over the years. They were all started by Rossi, who runs Marigold, who he was at, everybody, it went viral that he was at WrestleMania. Of course, he was there for EO, but he was also there apparently working out stuff with Triple H and with WWE management for opportunities like this. And also for Julia, who possibly could be debuting in NXT anytime. So
eventually,
eventually, because she kind of got hurt working.
Injured, yeah.
She got hurt working in Marigold. Even though she came back, she worked a match not too long ago, I think, in Marigold. So, but anyway, her and Io, it's a dream match. It's a Joshi dream match. It's the best way to describe what we're getting from Io and Utami. Just again, one of the leaders. Utami is someone that you could be seeing down the line, maybe 6-7 years down the line in WWE. She could be like where we see Asuka, where we see Io, and kind of continuing that legacy on, because she still has so much left that she can do in Japan. And even though she's already done so much, like for Stardom at such a young age, and I know that was a lot, but that I just kind of had to give her due, because she's one of the best in the world, and her and Io are going to tear it up.
I find funny is that, you know, I think this episode has proved that you are still the New Japan or Japan demigod. Monty, right? So I still think you've got it there. That is it. We've proven it to ourselves. We still have it. Don't forget, we're across all social media, Twitter at the WNR Podcast. I'm at WNRJI. You can find the entire WNR team on the Twitter banner. Monty, where can people find and listen to you?
At my Monty Pod, like you said, on Twitter. Again, I've been working. I've been doing other things, taking care of my family, which kind of, you know, they tell you that these things come first. And I just want to let you guys know they do. So the podcast has had to take the back seat from that regard, but I am working on other stuff, other types of content. Hopefully I'll be able to start streaming myself for like video game purposes. Maybe I can, you know, stream wrestling content also. Most of that will be posted to the at my Monty Pod Twitter when any of that is developed and actually going to take place. Just keep up with me there, and you'll figure it out then. So, but other than that, just catch me on the WNR. You know, every week at this point.
Yeah, it is literally every week. You know, I'm not gonna lie, but again, it's been fun to do a run of shows that felt like we've not done in a little while, and of course we all have breaks coming up as well. And then you just mentioned that's something that maybe I've been looking into to see if there might be different ways of doing a podcast, whether that would be visual or something like that. But again, at the moment, the way I'm looking, everybody's pleased it's audio. WNR also on Facebook and Instagram, across all Google platforms. Send us an email, WNRpodcast@gmail.com. YouTube, WNR Podcast with all latest clips and podcasts at the same time on YouTube. Do SoundCloud on your phone, also Spotify and iTunes, where you can download, subscribe, rate and review there. So that is it. Next weekend, it's time to talk Clash at the Castle, and of course it's going to be Forbidden Door, which we'll view the following week. But again, Monty, we have set the stage perfectly for Forbidden Door with this show here. And again, the next time we talk, it will all be about McIntyre, which is just going to be an added bonus.
Yeah, man, it's going to be a great show. I do wonder, going into that, will I be madder about the main event or you? Very interesting.
It is interesting what we do, isn't it? So we're going to find out how pissed off I will be and Monty will be. But until then, like I said, I was James Rowlands, was joined by the mind of Monty. Monty, I'd like to thank you for this. And again, like I said, it is your fault we are doing these shows.
Yeah, all my fault. All my fault. Yeah, you see what happens when you take care of your family, guys. Just stop doing that. No, just playing. No, I at the end of the day, I'm having a lot of fun, man. And it's not just my fault. I blame Tony Khan. I blame Triple H. I blame schedule makers. But anyway, this is great. I can't wait. So let's just keep the train rolling, brother.
Without a shadow of a doubt. Thanks for listening, and bye.